during. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So in a given time, and I will try to even showcase that why this is like a particular and very very important, especially for colleges like us who comes under like the private college or maybe under like a trust or something. So this is really really important for all of us, and in fact I may say that thing it is important for our survival. Okay. So this particular presentation I have made from my own experience. I have taken various resources. I have listed down all those resources at the end of the presentation. So in case somebody wants to read more or wanted to do some more dig in or a research, it will be easily available to them, right? Okay. So before I start, I just wanted to take a minute to introduce like my institute. So basically, it was founded by late Professor Chandrasekhar S. Deshpande, and he was throughout his life he was a meritorious student, and he was selected as a like a in Indian Railway Services as a first class engineer, and later because he was always fascinated by teaching and research, so he joined TIFR and he worked with such a prominent person like Homi Baba, Vikram Sarabhai. So his passion was always for a teaching, and that's the reason that he left all this thing and started with the Vidya Lankar group. And now institute, I mean, in the heart of a Mumbai, we have 11-acre campus where basically we run several programs in undergraduate, in PG program and this thing. Recently, we have been accredited by NAC also, and many of our departments are NBA accredited twice, right? So that's a small introduction about my institute, and I all welcome all of you to the campus. In case if you are coming near to Wadala or Dadar, do visit our campus. I'm sure that all of you will love it. So starting with my today's basically presentation. So actually it is into two part I have divided. So first I'm going to give the motivation and some of the definition, what is basically applied research, what it means, and what kind of like skills and other things that we require. And then I just wanted to share some of the experience that how those kind of like a research have throughout helped me in my career, and then we'll summarize it. And then I will request everyone that please feel free to interact with me. I mean, at any given point of time, if you have any question, anything, just raise your hand, or maybe you can just interrupt me so that I'll try my best to answer your query. So starting with this thing, so I just wanted to give basically a little background about myself. So generally for my PhD, I mean, or as an academician, I have a very non-traditional kind of like a background. Why non-traditional kind of like a background? Because a majority of the people, they actually throughout their career they work as a like, I mean, they first they become like an engineer, then they do their masters. In masters they do some research, and then they move on to like doing a PhD from any institute, and then they start working on like a research problem, or generally they do this kind of like a research, right? So and most of the time those kind of like a research are more fundamental type of research, or I may say that a non-application oriented kind of like a research, and then they come up this thing. But in my case it is a completely like a non-traditional path, because after completing, in fact when I was a student, I started with my own startup and this thing, and started some company with my friends and try to work on several kind of like a product design and all those things. So right from my undergraduate I was yeah, thank you. So right from my undergraduate, like I was working on industrial based like application. So and even during my my master's degree, or even in my basically the professional life, I have been associated with R&D department, where we try to work more on like applied research and this thing. And even in my PhD program, that I mean, I try to work on, basically on fundamental research as well. So it is a very non-traditional path, but I may say that I have a best experience of both the world, academia as well as the industry, and I feel really blessed that I got opportunity to work in that both the domain. And because of that, I was able to develop the adaptability, which is very, very important, especially when you wanted to do any kind of like, industry research. Because generally what I observe is that when we approach to any researcher or this thing, the first thing they will ask is that, okay, it is within my area. If it is not within my area, then I may not be able to contribute. So they are not adapting themselves to like a new research problem, or they are not ready to come out from this research problem. Now what is very important is that when you are learn to do the research, right? So you basically acquire certain skills and certain kind of like a mastery, and those masteries or skills could be adaptable in any particular like a given problem. So it should not restrict to only like one particular domain. We should always be ready to accept as a challenge and try to focus more on like a different thing, right? So this is very, very important thing that I have learned from my experience, that if you really wanted to work in application oriented research, so you have to be adapted, right? Because when you start working with some company or this thing, so yeah, yeah, I may just request, I mean, so participant, could you please go on a mute, so that there will be no disturbance to other participant. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so that adaptability is very, very important, and similar to that, like a resilience is also important, persistence is also important. It should not like a driven by your mood, that today I wanted to work, today I don't want to work, right? It need to be like a very, very focused in this particular like a part, right? So that working with industry actually provided with this particular like a skill set to me, and I'm really thankful to them, right? And then
Hello,
another
sir. Hello.
Hello, dear participants. I'm requesting, please mute yourself. All the participants, please mute yourself. Saurabh sir, I'm sorry for that. You can
no
continue.
problem, that's okay. So yeah, so then in that particular case, like I have worked with the Ministry of Information and Communication Applied Research. So basically we try to work on like I mean, different architecture protocol and this thing. I work with the LG company, I work with the Samsung company, I work with the SK Telecom, Atri Hosen Corporation. So these are some of the top giant company, and beside that there are many small scale, medium scale industry, but these are, I may say, the top industry with whom I have worked. And with those people I have to basically try to work on designing a wireless network, doing the analysis of our network. And then my research area is working on like a wireless network and game theory. So these two part, the first two part, I may say that it is more like a the academia part, or where generally you will find that majority of the people they keep working. Beside that, I have developed several solutions using RFID, IoT, IoE technology. And from recently last 5 to 7 years, even I have been working in educational technology and gamification. So I'll share some of my experience with all of you in the later part of my presentation, right? So you can see that thing that I try to balance both between like a fundamental as well as like a applied research. So that's a background about myself, and now let me just start with our main particular like a topic. And I wanted to start with this particular like a slide. So this is actually known as a like a Bohrs Quadrant, and a very, very important one. And why it is very important, so here you can see that thing, consideration of use. So the research which can be directly start to put it into industry, directly help us to develop some kind of like a product or services. Then here on y-axis you see that thing, are we solving some fundamental issues also, right? So if we try to compare both this thing, you see there are different kind of like a quadrant. So and then there is some kind of like examples also. So let me just start with this lower one, right? So Thomas Alva Edison, I'm sure that everybody has heard about him, and everybody has actually know about his basically life. So he was a scientist, engineer, as well as he was, I may say, that the biggest inventor. I think throughout his life, that we have heard that he has more than 1200 to 1500 kind of like a patent. So right now many invention, actually, like a electric bulb or a cinema or a music that we are hearing, so basically all started with his invention. And the biggest his contribution is that. And with as an inventor, he was also a great businessman, and he established a very good companies. So currently that we all are familiar with the GE company, right? So GE company, he is the founder. And as we know that he's this particular company is one of the top company in producing electrical goods, and they are now offering their services in so many different sector, right? So it's become such a wide kind of like a thing. So that's a perfect example that how you try to convert your basically research into a business. And through this particular business, you are not just helping to entire humanity race, but you are also helping to a nature, I mean, with coming with some innovative solution and other thing, right? So that's a one particular quadrant that I wanted to talk, where here he has not tried to solve any fundamental question, right? So what is that fundamental question? Okay, I'll also come to that part. But what he has done is a very problem solving kind of like a research, small research. And with this research, he is able to solve many industrial kind of like a problem, and created a many new kind of like a avenue. And then he started to apply those things as a practice, and then he churn it out as a very big kind of like the enterprises, right? So that was his main contribution, and a very I may say the inspiring figure for all of us. And then if I go to this left topmost corner, that is a Niels Bohrs, right? So Niels Bohrs, everybody know, a genius person, genius, or I may say that in fact many literature says that he's a more even kind of like the genius compared to the Albert Einstein. So Bohr actually it's a Nobel Prize winner. I mean, it's a physicist, and actually he gave different kind of like a theory to understand the atom structure and all that thing. Now these are the kind of like a research where they try to solve some fundamental understanding. They increase the horizon of a human knowledge, right? So before that, people were not knowing that, okay, what is there in the the structure of any particular like a thing, whether it's an atom, what is there in atom, how atom, electrons, and everyone wants, how the particular the things is actually behaving in such way. So this kind of like a question actually solved by so pure completely genius, but you can say the academician who has published so high quality papers and those things. And this particularly helped us to enhance our knowledge. Now how to convert that knowledge into like a profitable thing? Okay, so that particular thing is like it is a book knowledge. I mean, even if you understand the how the basically atoms or all those things are working, but how you are going to take it into electrical, it's again a big challenge, right? But because of his fundamental research and other thing, we are able to like do so many good things, right? So this kind of like a thing is very important. We cannot say that thing, this is not important, this is not important. Please let me clear that thing also, that right now, even though I'm giving you the importance of like a applied research, but that doesn't mean that fundamental research is not required. Yes, fundamental research is also required, but giving the current scenario and current situation, we have to set our priority, right? We cannot try to get both the things at the same time. So we have to set a priority. So especially the country like us, who is right now developing and not developed yet, and where we are actually struggling with our economy and this thing. So our priority should be more focused on like application oriented research, right? So that's our opinion. but not necessary everybody has to agree with it, right? So this is what one quadrant. Now we are moving to the right corner, where you can see there is a fundamental research also, there is a high kind of like a application also. So that is known as a Louis Pasteur quadrant. What is Louis Pasteur? Everybody knows that what Louis Pasteur has contributed, right? He developed so many vaccinations and this thing, and because of his entire stream, right now people actually understood that how to create a vaccination, how we need to do about it. And then he, with his solving of fundamental knowledge, he helped so many human lives, he saved so many human lives, right? And also he created a new avenue for business and all this thing, right? So these are really very important, and you can see that thing, it's a perfect example of balancing both this thing, right? So what is our focus is that we wanted to move right now to this particular quadrant or a pasture quadrant. And then there is a particular, this you can say the quadrant where, you know, the common man, we are not solving any fundamental, or we are not even doing some kind of research which could be directly applicable to like any field, right? So that is what we have to avoid it. So for us, as I mentioned to you, my humble opinion about is that we have to work more on this particular quadrant. Slowly obviously we can move it to other quadrant as and when those kind of like things are required, right? So now moving further, I hope this particular quadrant is understood by everyone, and then where we are actually right now, right? So this, you can say, I just try to define that, okay, what is basically the fundamental research. So generally when we are talking about the fundamental research, it is more like, you know, coming up with a new science, coming up with a new kind of like, you know, ideas or this thing and testing, right? Just for example, now everybody has heard about the sun, right? Sun is in Geneva, and it's a very expensive and a big project. I mean, say billions and billions of dollar has been invested in that thing. In fact, so many countries are part of that particular experiment. So what is this experiment is trying to understand? They are just trying to understand that thing, how basically the universe has been created, and so many other, like, you know, the questions related to that. Now this particular if we take that kind of like a experiment, you just imagine that how big is that particular, like, you know, the experiment and the setup and everything. So it takes like, you know, huge amount of money, and what we are going to get out of it is just a increase in knowledge. Obviously there are going to be many application as well, but those application will take some time to convert those like a knowledge into some engineering problem, solving those engineering problem, and then coming up as a like a product and service. So it's a long cycle. So when you start talking about, like, you know, the return on investment on your research, or return on your investment on your basic, like, you know, investment, then it becomes like a difficult. So in India also, then we are running so many different kind of like a centers, and those centers we are assuming, and we try to contribute in a fundamental science, but we are not actually churning out some kind of like, you know, the best product or a services out of it, right? So current, so what is the scenario that I wanted to give in India? So right now in India, fundamental research is not behind. I mean, you can see that thing, there is a TIFR, GMRT, so many those different kind of like organizations are there, right? And in fact Indian government has invested more than 100k crore, or even more investment is coming in doing like a fundamental research into that thing, right? Plasma research or whatever you say. So right now still we have not get the fruit of it, but we are hoping that one day it will be useful to it. But till that time, people are coming up with new theories, coming up with new kind of like, you know, knowledge, and they are investing into that. Now at the same time, applied research, if you talk about, so where basically applied in research, so India is very good in a pharma industry, right? So there are many actually drugs are patent free now, or they are available in open domain. So India is very good in adapting to that, then creating so many kind of like a different medicine at a cheaper rate. So generally we call it as a generic medicine, right? So those kind of like a things is that India is extremely good in transportation research, because the kind of like a railway network we have, or kind of like a metro that we are developing, And I think it is one of the greatest example in entire world. I mean, with such a cheaper rate, how we are able to do that thing. Similar for construction. Then if we talk about like our ISRO, so all those things comes under like applied research, right? Now ISRO is considered as one of the top agencies in launching your satellite, and they have started to getting business from so many other countries. So earlier only like few countries they have like a monopoly on that thing. Now India has break that monopoly, and then India has become like one of the part of that particular like constant. So this is where India has done similar, I mean tremendous kind of like a growth. Now similar to that, if you look at India in terms of services, IT services, so India is the best one. The one of the reason is that because the solution that we provide is quite cheaper compared to other country, but also the cost factor is not there. I mean, there is a quality factor as well. So India is providing the quality with a particular like a cost, and that is a reason that Infosys, or you can say TCS, those kind of like a big IT companies are gaining popularity and gaining and more. They are becoming more stronger, and in fact they are bringing our entire, I can say, the ecosystem or economy to a great shape. In fact majority of our students are employed with those kind of like a companies, right? So we can see that thing in applied research also. India is doing good, but still many more things we need to do. We have to contribute in developing a product. We have to come up with those kind of like a company, like how America is used to do, like a Google or Amazon, or you can say the Apple, those kind of like a company. Now if we look at the IPR kind of thing, so we are way behind the US, China, Europe, Japan, and Korea. So I mean, yes, India is now taking a lead into that, but still those particular part has been not like captured, because once we convert into like a, yeah, once we try to convert into like the IPR, so there is a chance to convert those kind of things into a commercial products, commercial services, and ultimately it is going to help India to like develop those on those particular like economy, right? So that is where is the current scenario in India, and this is what is expected from all our engineers, and this thing that they build something, they create something which is going to contribute to them, right? Okay, now let's try to understand what is like a fundamental research, applied research, or academic research, right? So basically fundamental and academics, sometimes it comes into a synonym, but if I have to look it into Indian paradigm, it's a bit different. So why it is different, let me explain to you. So when we are talking about a fundamental research, so what it means is that we are working on a new knowledge, and generally it has been carried out at a research center, university, institute, and it can come out with a very high quality publications, right? The publications, like I'm talking about the nature quality, where generally most of the leader who in that particular field, they publish their paper, Nobel laureates, they publish their paper. So that kind of like a quality publication I'm talking about. Yeah. So, and fundamental research required like huge funding, right? It is not like that. Let's say if I wanted to do some research on atomic energy, so atomic energy, the setup itself is going to take a huge amount of like a money. It's not like a small thing that okay, you can do something at home and then work on that thing. No, so it is not like that. So those kind of like a fundamental research obviously take a huge funding, and the time required to complete those research or working on this research, it's a very long time frame. Generally we do it for 25 years, 50 years, 100 years, like that. So that is a very big kind of like a timeline, and till that time you have to keep constantly feeding those facilities with the funds and resources. So you require lots of patience for that also. Now coming to the applied research, it is mostly related to like developing a product or a service directly applicable to industry, where you are going to generate some kind of like a patent or a copyrights or those kind of thing, IPR. Then you are expecting that okay, within a 10 years or 5 years I'm going to start getting like ROI, and it could be moderate, I mean from a lower funding to up to higher funding, right? So depends on industry, depends on the type of problem that you are solving. let's say if you are in a currently in a vaccination industry or those industry where you require even a huge funding to do the research and then coming out with a some kind of like a solution, right? So and then generally in applied research, time frame is decided. Time frame that okay, this is what we wanted to achieve within a 3 years, within a 2 years, within a 1 year, and this is how we are going to set turn out our service or maybe a product, and it should start giving us the this kind of ROI, right? So that milestones, that kind of like a time frame, everything has been set. Where you are working in a fundamental research, generally you are not knowing that when basically we are going to do some kind of breakthrough, and once the breakthrough achieved, then maybe we'll be able to get like ROI, right? So that's a difference between that thing. Now when we are talking about the academic research, so here I do not wanted to make it as a generalized statement, but looking at the majority of the institute, I may say that thing, majority of us are working as an incremental work. Incremental work means what? If there is some kind of like a existing system, we try to show that okay, the there is an improvement in our system by 10%, 50%. So it is not something completely new that we are coming up. So majority of the work is incremental. Even the publication is at the mediocre level. It is not like a very high, not very low, but somewhere in between. And it is going generally those kind of like academic research is having a low funding. Not every institute, but yes, majority of the institute, they have low funding, and generally the time frame is like a short, sometimes it is long time frame, up to like a 5 years to up to 10 years. Short, as much as short is like 2 months to 3 months, like that, right? So that is it. And basic idea of academic research is to train the human resource, to train the people to get this kind of the training in the research. So that is a main objective. So we are talking about lots of like a publication and all this thing, but I see that is a it's kind of like a training program. When you enter into a master program, when you enter into a PhD program, so you try to understand how to define the problem, how to find the problem, how to do the literature survey, what you have to do. So this is a human resource development kind of like a training, and that is where they are very good in academia. Research is very good in giving those kind of output. Okay, now different type of projects also we take it while we do our research. It may be a research oriented. First of all, we can divide into three part: hardware part, software part, or a combination of two. Nowadays whatever we try to develop, it is always a combination of this thing. It is not just rely only on hardware and software, right? And then again, in each category we can say that thing, there are some research based project, there are some like application based project, and then there are some kind of like a project which requires some kind of research as well as like application. So it's a blend of both, right? So my advice to all undergraduate students or master students is that you try to imagine yourself where you wanted to land. If you wanted to go into industry, try to work on some kind of application based project, so that industry people can easily connect with it. They know that thing, okay, you have learned this skill and this will be directly useful to them in their particular like work profile and this thing. So it is good. Now some students wanted to do like a higher studies, so I advise them think that the best thing is that, like, why don't you work on some research based project? So when you go to any university, it will also help you to get some kind of like a TA-ship or a scholarship, and you are fit for that kind of like an environment. So, and then some students, they do not have any idea, that we don't know whether we are going to land in industry or whether we wanted to go for like a higher study. So I always tell them that, why don't you try to take a project which is like a blend of like research as well as application. So that latter part, if you wanted to go to any of this thing, will be very useful to you, right? So these are some important point that we all have to keep it in mind. Generally when we are talking about like a faculty member, so in a faculty member, there are five basically the contribution expected from each and every faculty member. One is a teaching contribution, another one is a research contribution, third one is an administrative kind of like a work contribution, mentoring contribution, and societal contribution. So these are basically five aspects that each and every teacher has to fulfill. What will be the ratio of each and everything, that depends on your position. If you are an assistant professor, it is expected from you that you do more on a teaching and a research part. If you are at a higher level, you are expected to do that thing. Okay, you have to, like, work more on like a teaching, research, administrative and mentoring, try to prepare some other junior faculty members or students and all this thing. When you are even go to the higher level, it is expected that you started to create impact even in societal contribution, right? So depends on your position and the experience, the contribution changes, but all five parts are very important and it is required. So I'm not going to talk about all those five, but I just wanted to talk about only research contribution. So when we try to do any kind of like a research contribution, so it should try to fetch some kind of like a prestigious award recognition. Then it is considered as a good academia, like a research, right? Or maybe a fundamental research. If you are getting a big funding research project, then it is obviously going to bring lots of experience to you. It can convert it into some high quality research books, publications, then patent, software, design. So that is important. When you try to do the industrial research, it is expected that some kind of startups, joint ventures will come out, some kind of like a commercializing of product and development will come out, consultancy will come out, which can generate high revenue. Or maybe you are able to do some center of excellence, or maybe the patent, software, design, those will things come up, and then it will result into high placement. High placement means high package placement, or a very good internship will be provided to your student or to your colleagues, right? So that is what is like research contribution. So how we have to go about it, right? So what we need to set, or what should be the path that we have to set. So first of all, each one of us need to set our vision, that within a 5 years where we wanted to land. I wanted to declare what is my vision for next 5 years, what are my short term goals, what are my long term goals, and based on that thing we have to set our timeline. Okay, just for example, let's say my set vision is that okay, I wanted to be a very well recognized academician. Okay, so what will be my short term gain? Okay, so short term gain will be what I have to, short term goal will be what, that right now I'm working on some of publishing my books. So okay, so I wanted to publish a good with a very reputed kind of like a publisher, just for Tata McGraw Hill or Oxford, those kind of like a good quality like a publisher. My long term goal will be that okay, I wanted to create such kind of like a syllabus, or such kind of like a policy which help to do my institute in a better way. And the timeline that I have said, that okay, within a year I wanted to publish one book, within a year to this 2 years I wanted to publish on this particular like a part. In a long term, I wanted to establish this kind of like a center of excellence where this kind of like a return, or that research is going to be expected. So we need to set our reason, because once we are clear on that thing, then we also know that thing how to achieve it, and what are the things we require to achieve those kind of things. And for that thing we always have to take initiative. You have to go beyond our call of duty, and we need to make it a very rightful. And when we are taking from the first on next week to give this book, and that is going to create a big impact on a people. When we say the impact means what, more and more people should get benefit out of it, and overall condition of the entire group should come to a upper level, right? So that is what we call it as an impact, right? Then very important one is that how to prepare a proper proposal, and obviously we have to come out of a comfort zone, right? So these are the initiatives that is required when we have to think about it, right? And also we have to make sure that the exposures is given proper exposures, we have to take it. See, this is kind of like a very sorry to say, but in entire our like a teaching community, we always depend on like institute to provide us some kind of like a fund or a grant to like to experience those things. So that is not a right, because see, basically ideally we have to spend 2% to 5% of our actually income only on learning, so that that learning is going to give us the revenue for next 10 years. and if we are not going to do that thing, it is like a problem. And then if you try to do this thing, we have to try to get this different kind of like exposures, like how to, I mean, traveling, within foreign countries, universities, so we know that how the system is working over there, what kind of things are doing there, study tour, industrial visit, industrial internship. In fact, many companies, they are offering internship even to the faculty members, because they understood it's important. If you try to educate the faculty member, then only the things are going to percolate to the students. So this is important. How basically, like, the corporate culture life is there, how we have to work, develop some passion, hobby, liking, right? So, and learning, yes, every semester we have to set our target to learn at least one new skill, which is going to be very important. And then very important part is that we have to start developing our professional development. So what is our professional development? That building a network is a very important, because when you try to develop a network, you try to bring in lots of like a people. Yeah, and then always with people always comes the resources, always comes the different kind of like a, benefit to it. And we have to create a very strong kind of like a network. So we can also set our goal like that. Within a 5 years, I wanted to set such kind of like a network, that if I try to call somebody and tell some company that, okay, this is my students who are doing good and they wanted to get an employment, so immediately, like over the phone, they you are able to provide them the employment or internship or whatever. So those kind of like a strong network is required. And try to associate with any of your any professional body, whichever it is suitable to your profession. Just for example, in my area of research or this thing, IEEE is more suitable, so I am now associate with IEEE, and then try to contribute something in their initiatives and other thing. So this is very important, because through that I am able to get access to lots of like a good people, professional good people. And then it's a mutual benefit to industry and academia. So this is very important. And also try to contribute more in open source and community. So this is really important. So if we try to achieve and try to contribute in all those aspects, definitely it will help us to bring certain challenges and barriers. So I'll be talking about that thing in a meanwhile. Okay, now where you can say, let's say we wanted to start with some kind of like the research related applications and this thing, what are the areas? Or where I understand that I also comes from like a private college, and I think majority if you are also from the private college. So I understand that we have limited resources in terms of the funding, in terms of the human resource, in terms of other facilities. So within given that thing, so see, we have a two choice. Either we can creep on that thing, or maybe we can start utilizing resources in whatever way it comes, and then try to give some kind of output, because that output is going to bring you lots of like a new input, right? So what are the avenues available to it? So very simple opportunity in certain domains are there. First is data analytics and science application in education. So now education is going beyond like a traditional thing. More and more ICT practices are coming into play, and more and more people are developing, coming up with EduStart. In fact, recently I was going through some of the report. So in that report, they were categorized different kind of like a startup category, right? So edutech was in a top 5, that edutech companies are in a top 5. So you can just imagine that so many education startups are coming up, and obviously they require domain knowledge, they require some basic understanding of like education sector. So that's a huge opportunity for all of us to contribute and develop something new, right? And obviously open source is already open to us. And even in open source, when you say, it doesn't attach with the word free. There are lots of benefits to it. When you start contributing in open source, lots of resources will you are going to get it, right? So for example, if you are from a computer science, maybe you can develop certain tools and other things which you can contribute in open source community. So, and then there are operating systems, then there are database, then there are, I mean, language, the programming language, web application, I mean, all those aspects. It's open source is doing really good. So you can there are some kind of like opportunities available for all of us. Again, I mentioned about education and ICT tool, developing into that thing, developing data analytical tools. So this is really helpful us to do the customization of student understanding, student lesson plan, and all that thing. So we can contribute in quality excellence. And obviously, when we doing all that thing, we should never cross on our values. That I mean, okay, just to achieve something, let's say we take a shortcut or we do the plagiarism or something, that is not acceptable, right? So values should never be compromised, right? That is the reason that the entire academia or the teacher fraternity is very well respected, and we have this honors in us to maintain those kind of like a respect in that thing, right? And then we have to contribute something simple but a very different kind of like a solution out of this thing. If possible, you can come up with a disruptive idea, because nowadays accepting a disruptive idea is a very easy and very important one, and also need to be responsible. So this is where responsibility and accountability is a major factor, because industry would like to give some projects to academia people, but only they have a constraint of time frame, and generally we fail to keep our promise, and that is where that sync is not there. And so need to be responsible for that. If we try to do that thing, many more kind of like a project and resources will come to us, right? Okay. So the challenge is that every one of us feeling is that, okay, we do not have enough experience to do that thing, we do not have like a good mentor or no guidance into that, we do not have any fund, no research facility, no networking, and also doing a time management is a very tough job nowadays. I mean, because I'm a chief academic officer, I speak with lots of like my faculty members and this thing, and I always hear that thing, sir, we are working on like now NBA, now we are working on this thing, that thing, something we are not getting enough time for it, and all this thing. See, so I guess maybe time management is a very important skill, and that you do not like require like a huge resource and other thing to learn about that thing, right? It is just simply based on some kind of like a priority and all those things. So time management is very important. Now, how to overcome those challenges, right? So obviously, as I said, yes, we do not have experience accepted. So what we can do for this thing? So the one very easy and simple way is that try to associate it with some kind of like a good association. I gave you example of IEEE. Maybe you can find out some society which is related to your area. If you are in a computer, you can even join a computer society of India. If you are into some mechanical, maybe you can try to figure out which particular society is associated with it, right? You try to join over there, then that because those societies are what doing is that they try to bring lots of like a people from industry and academia. So it's a perfect plan. So once you go into that thing, you start actually interacting with them, try to get like work with them, and then you start getting experience. Another way is that thing that try to establish some contacts with IIT professors or nearby top rated like professors with them, try to work on them project, and do not expect anything. I mean, you should tell them very clearly that, okay, I do not want any money, I do not want any kind of like a even if you are not ready to give me a credit, that's fine, just I wanted to work, but for that we have to work extra mile. But this is important. So we started to gaining experiences, gaining like offer like an internship. So start accepting those internship, and then do not expect at a early stage of your like a career or anything, and then just focus only on like a learning, right? So that is how you start getting like a experience and guidance, right? And then obviously you at the beginning you do not have a fund. Yes, it's very understood. So first of all, you need to show your institute or maybe to a funding agency that what kind of skills you have, what kind of like a capability you have in a past, what kind of project you have handled. So if you start slowly with that thing, obviously the funds start coming to it, right? So anyways, I'll be sharing those particular experience with you at a later part of my presentation, actually in the second part of my presentation. And then no research facility is there, so we can start with like some basic research. which involve very basic tools. Just for example, a good library, a good skills on data science, or maybe good skills on AI/ML, good skills on like using your instrument, and then we can start developing a research. Even with a small facility, we can do many more things, right? So in fact, when I started with the IoT kind of thing, so earlier I used to work on Arduino board and Raspberry Pi, and from that we try to showcase our skills, and then we moved on to the very expensive board or industry kind of grade, right? And no networking. So networking, that we have to take our basically efforts into that. You try to be a member on a LinkedIn, try to connect with the people who are within your area, within your fraternity, try to connect with them, try to interact with them. Then only you start developing some kind of like a networking. So in that case, you have to be a very persistent. You should not feel like, okay, one time I have written a mail, I'm not getting any kind of like a response. No, you have to be very persistent about it. And also the way that you communicate is very important, right? So those are the things that we have to keep in mind. And this challenge, if we try to break, then automatically we'll start turning in, and we are able to do lots of application oriented like research, right? So there are many open source platforms, and I may say the resources are available. Just for example, you try to go to the FOSI. So FOSI is actually a program run by MHRD, and then IIT Bombay is a center for that. And under that FOSI, they are working on so many different technologies: Python, Scilab, OA tool, DWSM, CFD, OSDG, Sandhi, eSIM, spoken tutorial. So you start to contribute from this kind of like open platform, then you get a recognition. Then slowly you can move ahead into like handling like a big project and this thing, right? So over there you do not require any kind of resources, you do not require any kind of like a big expertise. Then once you attach with them, you start participating initiative, it's need to be taken by you, right? So this is one particular platform where you can try to do lots of stuff, right? Okay. Then other resources and tools are that you try to develop some kind of like a virtual lab, remote lab. Then there is a e-antra lab. So this thing may require some very small investment, but this could be easily able to get with some kind of like a AICT funding, or maybe your institute funding also. And you can work on this thing, and it doesn't take much like a money. I mean, if you wanted to really start working on embedded system, so I may say that thing only 10,000 or 15,000 rupees are more than enough to start with some kind of your own lab, and from that lab you can start growing to a very high level, right? So virtual lab, remote lab, social media, I mean, these are platforms and avenues available where you can try to showcase that thing, right? Then very important one, when you are preparing any kind of like a proposal, see, this particular part should be very clear when you are write about it. What is it? What that kind of like a piece? What is going to be the objective of that? What are the deliverables that you will be offering them with a time frame? That okay, you will see that thing. Okay, I'm going to publish a paper maybe in 2 years or 3 years. No, that is not acceptable. That if you say that thing, okay, this kind of like a high quality paper in next 6 months, then it has become like a really deliverable things or a patent or whatever it is coming out of it. Then we have to even try to do is the impact assessment, that if you try to solve this problem, if you do this thing problem, what is the impact it is going to create it, right? Let's say I am developing a very small software which is helping us in some kind of like the for one particular company we have developed a software. So generally what we have to do is that the client has to call, and they have to just get their token for their complaint number, right? So for that thing, that company has to put one operator them that kind of like the number. So this is kind of like entire like a very small project. You have to do start giving them some kind of like a token, and then it is really recorded. So this entire process we have done as an automated thing. Now this is create a big impact. Why? Because first of all, you save lots of money for the company, that okay, you do not require like any human person to be there. And another impact was that now you are able to provide the service 24/7. You do not require only from 9 to 5. So clients were very happy. Whenever we are actually like call, we are going a number, and the immediate day that the token numbers has been like started to resolve by engineers. So totally overall the quality of the service has been improved, right? So this is called as an impact that you create with this thing, right? What are the requirements you required, and obviously the thing that you have to mention about it, right? Okay, so now I just wanted to share some of my experience with all of you, that as a like how basically applied research been done, or it is like have to done, so that you get like a better exposure in this, and slowly you can move into like different kind of like a trajectory. So here I am just only going to discuss about some of the industrial or application based kind of like a project. I'm not taken any like a fundamental research oriented thing that I have done. Only this, and that too also some selected project I just wanted to discuss with all of you, so that it will be a part clear. Okay, so first the project that I have done within the parameter of like within the confinement of like a university is what like OSGI. Now this particular OSGI open source gateway initiative. So right now we are looking at like a home automation, or like big automation. So at that time, this is I'm talking about year 2008 2009, working on this particular like a project. So we have developed some architecture on that thing, right? So that also require lots of research, but the outcome is that we have to come up with this complete the gateway software, gateway like a drivers, which is helping us to do some kind of like a automation of like a, maybe a home or maybe a society, and that kind of thing. Second project that I wanted to discuss is about 80.215.a. So this is a WLAN standard. So we have developed several kind of like a standards in this WLAN and high data rate. So this was in association with Samsung and LG. So right now all of you might be heard about the Fire Stick, right? Fire Stick is actually helping you to stream the high quality data to like your television or to this thing. So this kind of like a project we have done maybe in 2008 or 2009. So that time we earlier the data transmission rate was somewhere around like uh, 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 200 256 or maybe 500 like a kbps, but now we have improved that to up to like a 3 gbps of speed. And this particular like a idea now has been commercialized and has been used in many particular like a product, especially for a short distance kind of thing. Then we worked on 80.15.6, that is a WBAN mac. So now majority of you are using some kind of like a fitness band and this thing. So they work on Bluetooth, and this work on Bluetooth is basically governed by this particular like a standard. So those things, whatever like the proposals we have sent in increasing the database, data speed, increasing into security, all that things comes under this particular like a project. So this is completely research application projects, but it is contributed in open source, so that any company can take it, they can try to develop this as a like a product and then sell it into the market, right? So these are some of the research oriented projects and all these things it requires. And it doesn't require like a much resources, right? What you require is like a good library or sources to find some good paper, to run some kind of like a simulation tools, then try to fabricate something. So I may say that extensively I have used network simulator, that is NS2. If some of you might be working in a networking area, might be knowing that it is a completely open source software, right? Using that software, using like a few papers and all those things, we try to do that thing. And then fabrication of antennas and all this thing doesn't go beyond even like 2000 to 3000 rupees. So with a limited like a budget and resources, we are able to contribute into like this project, and it's a big impact project, right? So this is kind of like an application oriented, which is accepted by industry, and now right now when practice. So when I see anyone who is using like a fitness band, or maybe any kind of like a the fire stick, I always take a pride, okay, that some of our research has gone into this particular developing this product, right? So this is very important. So developing this thing is also a very important. And generally I have seen that people have some different kind of like a notation, that if we publish some high impact kind of like a paper, then only we will get a respect and this thing. So in my opinion, that is not right. The very important is that how much you are contributing to the society and how much you are contributing into the growth of a particular country is very important. And how maybe you are contributing to the product, and if we start thinking in that way, then maybe India can never able to develop some kind of like a product or this thing, right? So this is what is applied research. Now another particular project that I wanted to take you through is that, so what is that node sensor node development? So this we have developed in joint collaboration with IIT Bombay, and many resources and funding were awarded by like IIT Bombay. So what was that? Basically this project was what? It was developing some sensor node which is actually sensing some dangerous gas and alert us that okay, okay, and we have to take some kind of action. So that entire design, they have added some new kind of like value into that thing. Just for example, current driver earlier was no one was providing, so we have done that. Why we have to do this thing, that also I'll tell you. So generally when you take a sensor, when this something, soon they become like a saturated, so you again you have to take them back at like their original position. So to take them original position, we have to heat those sensors, and for that thing current driver is required, right? So this was some kind of like innovation into into that, those heating technology, right? Now this particular like there are so different kind of like a hardwares available at that time. Now those hardwares were like available in the market but very expensive, and many of them were not having certain kind of like a features that we wanted to implement in our like a project. So you can see that thing here, we have tried to compare with the different kind of like a boards, what is present, what is not present, what we need to propose over there, and then we develop with this particular nodes. You can see that thing, it is a big in size but it is stack wise. So advantage of is that if you wanted to remove from one frequency, you wanted to place another radio, that is quite possible. Let's say right now you are working on 2.4 gigahertz, and now you wanted to go to a 5.4 gigahertz. Yes, you can do that thing. You do not need to buy complete new hardware. Now you wanted to change certain kind of like a circuitry sensors. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. You can see that thing, this kind of like thing, right? So why this stack, you give complete flexibility. So over this research, I may say that thing, we have not applied any kind of like a new principles or something. It's a very simple. But what we try to solve the problem is that which are not available in the market right now, which boards are very expensive. So we try to cut down that particular cost, right? Now earlier, I mean, some the boards that I have shown to you, they were costing you somewhere around like a 12,000 rupees, and now we have developed this particular node in 3,000 rupees, right? So that's the innovation part. If you say what is the new thing that I have bring into this particular thing, so we have tried to cut down the cost. Then what additional part we have tried to do is that we have tried to make it as a stack, so that we give the complete flexibility to like user. If you look at those kind of like a boards, these are all are fabricated into one thing. Even if you want to change any part, you do not have a flexibility. So we solve this practical problem, and then we try to make it. Now this has become like a very useful kind of like a node to any industry or anyone who wanted to use. And we created a network of those kind of like a nodes in transmitting the data and all those kind of like a thing, right? So yeah, so this is called as a like application oriented. So it is not something new that we have done, but whatever we have done, we have learned, we try to apply that, we try to bring innovation in a different perspective, in a cost perspective, in this different kind of like a perspective, right? So this is one of the example of like a application oriented like a research. Okay, now another project that I wanted to show you. So for one particular like a company, we have developed this battery monitoring system, right? Generally, if you go to a data center, they keep data center on a battery supply also, because that need to be run 24 by 7. Even if the power failure comes, it should keep working, because the entire financial system works on that, right? And generally when we are taking at a batteries, those batteries are actually kept in a series, right? So if any one particular battery gives a low performance or get failure, then entire bank becomes like a useless. So we immediately need to take action, and we need to make sure that no battery is going to fail. And even if they try to fail, we predict it, we immediately replace it, so that the service is available to us 24 by 7, right? So in that thing, entire battery monitoring system was that. Now in a principle, this is not a new technology, it's a very simple technology. What we call it as a data analysis, or you can say that data acquisition system, right? So this is a very standard system, people have known about it. What we try to do is that, because that entire system was available even from the market, but they were used to give lots of parameters. Now these parameters are not useful to the company, the client to whom we were serving. They just wanted only two parts. We just wanted to observe V characteristic and I characteristic. We do not want any other kind of parameter, because through the V and I characteristic, we'll be able to predict it, which battery is going to fail and which battery we need to replace it, right? So we try to do is a reverse engineering. We try to remove all those another unnecessary components. We try to make it only like a two component. With this, we are able to make the system to a very low cost, which is easily affordable to those company, and it could be accepted. So right now also this particular product is running very fine. So that is, we have developed with an NRTech company, that is a Singapore based, actually Indian, but Singapore based like a company. It's working very fine into the system, right? So this is called as a applied research, where you try to understand what is the pain point of a particular industry, what we can try to do this thing, and we able to solve that particular like a problem, right? So for that also so those innovations we bring into this thing. So what it coming out as a outcome, it is coming out as a product development, it is coming out of as a ROI generation for us, right? Because I was a consultant, so okay, it was give me some extra kind of like an income. I was able to put some of my good students as an internship for this particular like a product, right? So these are some of the outcome. It has not come out as a publication. Even if I try to put it as a like a publication, it will be considered as a very low grade publication. Why? Because there is no knowledge or any kind of like a new things that we have done. But what we try to achieve is a low cost applicable solution, reliable solution. Okay. So then another kind of like a project that we have done using RFID is the inventory control. So how to do the inventory control in such a way that thing where you do not have to share any kind of like the human intervention is minimum zero, right? Because when you are talking about inventory control, there are many companies, just for example DMart or a big company who give lots of like inventory, and they have to track a record of that inventory every day or maybe on a regular basis, and it's a very tedious job, and all there is always bound to be human error by intention or without intention. So somehow we need to work on that and solve this particular like a problem, which is very important. Here also there is no new research. All research has been already done by human. We try to develop a very rigid solution which is applicable in Indian condition, very rough and tumble condition, where basically the mobile or network is not available. So how to bring those kind of innovation? It is called as a applied research. And those applied research is actually help you to solve some of the industry problems or this thing. People will start coming to you as a consultant or as an expert in solving this problem. So this is the other problem. Now another project that I wanted to show you is a predictive maintenance, right? So here you see the photograph of jute mill. So what they did is that you can see that there are series of, you can say, series of motors are running. These motors are very old, and this motor is working without any reason, and then it stops entire, like, the production line. So you have to work on that thing. So what is required is that, okay, just try to find out that is it possible for predict when the particular motor is going to break down, or it is, like, about to break down. If you can try to predict it, immediately you can try to, like, solve that problem. You can replace those things, or maybe temporary you can switch off that part, mean you can say the failure time, or like a switch time has been reduced, right? So we develop some system monitor VNI characteristic of that motor. Based on that thing, we try to see that thing, it is going to fail or not, and then it gives can working in a very best way. So similar to that, in the same thing, when you are making those kind of like a jute, you have to constantly put some kind of like a oil, and you can see that this is entire oil system. Now in this oil system, it is like unobserved. Sometimes people see that thing, oh, here oil is not coming, so let me go and check this thing, right? So it takes lots of time, and somebody has to take initiative to regularly check on that. But you can simply automatically tell that thing, okay, here oil is not coming, so let me go and check this thing, right? So somebody has to take initiative, and they immediately come and make sure that it is like up to. Now this particular principle is a very simple one, right? It doesn't require, even you can actually initially, when we develop a prototype, we develop the prototype with Arduino board, and we try to show that thing that, okay, see, this is how you can solve this particular problem. Then we develop a sophisticated board and everything, and then provide this solution. But this is, like, very easy. So solving this problem, it is called as a application based research, where you try to make sure that problems has been answered. You give a rigid solution, cost effective solution, and works very well with the industry, right? Okay. Now another particular, like, a project that this project I have done with my students, and here also, like, we try to answer to one particular, like, a problem that is related to sports industry. Now cricket, I know everybody loves cricket, and in India especially, and even I, including myself, I love cricket, right? And so I used to play earlier for as a, like, a club player or something like that. So for that thing, we have to actually practice a bowling and batting in a net. And when you are doing a practice in a net, the problem generally we have is that we have only like a one coach, because we are not funded like, a huge thing like a BCCI or something. So in that case, the coach, they come, they observed us for few minutes, they put their note, and then they go to the next player. Likewise, so just one coach is generally has to handle, like, 12 to 12 13 players like that. So they are not able to give any kind of enough time for each player. Another problem is that thing, let's say coach today told me that, okay, you have to practice the bowling for a certain time, and let me know what is this thing. So I do the practice, but I do not have any kind of like a numbers to show that person, right? So that he can analyze, can do this thing. So then we come up with this particular idea, that if we try to develop some kind of like a pitch, and then a system where, let's say, I'm a bowler, so it observes what is my line length and speed, and with this particular like a speed, uh, this data will be available to my coach. So coach can look at it, they can suggest me that thing, oh, so, Saurabh, you have to practice more on this particular aspect. Maybe your speed is going down when you are putting certain kind of like a bowling, so try to work hard on your muscles and all those things. So this is the project where I told that I suggest student, this is a kind of project where you required some kind of like a research, you required also some kind of like, uh, uh, research as well as application oriented project, right? And then we develop entire this kind of like a system where it is monitoring each and everything. Then it can give you very nice graph and everything, so that coach can look at it and then tell you that thing, oh, this is what mistake you are doing and this thing, right? So this is one very good project. Another project is that we have developed this kind of like a weather station, right? So this weather station currently we wanted to put it under like a pattern. Now this weather station, local weather station, we can keep it in a big societies or a big mall, so that according to the local temperature, local light condition, I can adjust the light and the AC temperature, so it can save lots of like energy, unnecessary energy, or like even it can cut down your electric bill into that, right? So this particular thing also we have prepared with like a help of like a student. It's a complete product. So if anyone is interested, I can show you that product. It is there in my office also. So this is kind of like this is called as a application oriented. Now another very interesting project that I wanted to show you. So we developed some kind of interactive board. So I have shown you the front side and the back side. So front side, it is a board about 8255, right? Students wants to learn about 8255. So we develop this board as a like sound and light. So you generally switch on this thing, they will try to explain each and every block of this 8255 with a light and sound, how the data is flowing, what is happening. Then you can give some quiz. And the backside, if you look at it, it is nothing but an entire like a system, and this entire system works on Arduino board, right? So this is a very fantastic. Now looking at this particular project, many companies, they approach to us, that they say that why don't you develop this kind of like a board for us in explaining some kind of like processes, or some kind of like instruction for your workers or something like that. And so that's how we try to get like the consultancy project for those things, and then we started to develop in this kind of thing. So this is again example of like the applied research, where you try to showcase that this is what is like the product will look like, right? This is looks very shabby. Why? Because it's a prototype, right? But when we do the finished product, it's a nice circuit design, properly it is put, everything. You don't have to worry about anything, right? Similar to that, another project that we have developed is about like a ultraware, and where we identify that if we put those 15 kind of like the sensors on different point, it is going to cover all your activities into that. Now the next step we have done is that even we try to reduce this 15 sensors only to 5 sensors, that you put those 5 sensors into your body, or if you can put those 5 sensors into your system, so that entire like you have been in a standing position, in a walking position, what calorie that you have burned, so that you can take care about your health in a better way, right? So what are the different benefits of this? That you develop the skill, you you try to be just like an industry product consumer, but you try to develop something for the industry, and you are driving that particular industry. So this is very very important statement, right? So why this is important? Because so far whatever industry is creating as a software, or as a kind of like the consuming that thing, but we are back and we have developed this thing, we have to start working on that, and let's make it as a like a product, right? So we need to change our mindset from industry consumer to industry driver, and that is possible only when we try to work on applied research, application oriented research. It can bring lots of consultancy. In fact, it can bring IPR also. Now let me show you one example. In fact, yesterday only I received this kind of like a copyright, right? So this is, I have done it with my doctoral student. So here yesterday only we got this. So this is a copyright allocated to us. So what is this copyright? So this copyright is allocated to us because we develop a software which is generating some kind of like a traffic. So let's say any telecom industry, when they wanted to actually check their system, so if they are checking those particular system, they have to generate lots of traffic, right? So that only they can know what is going to be my like entire network capacity, or how it is going to work in this case. So we develop this software which is generating those kind of like a dummy traffic for you. So on top of that, you can run your simulation and all this thing, right? So this particular software we have developed, and we got the copyright for it, right? Which could be easily used in industry. This could be easily used in some kind of like uh, uh, academia research on say. Now there is another, so this is another kind of like a copyright that we received. In fact, both copyright I have received yesterday only. So this is about like, how we can use machine learning, some algorithm. We have developed our own algorithm. We modified something in that. So with minimum resources, it is giving you the accurate prediction about the spectrum sensing in cognitive radio, right? So that software we have developed, and we have taken a copyright for it. Now any particular like a company wants to utilize this thing, we can give it to them. We can try to like, do some kind of like a consultancy based on that thing, right? So this is just one example I wanted to show you, right? So it can bring lots of IPR too. IPR means what? Intellectual property, right? Still there are like a couple of patents that we have filed. Still it is going to take time, because generally copyrights takes time. And when you are applying for a copyright, the time duration is very small, especially when you are applying patent is not granted for software, so you have to go for a copyright thing, right? So IPR. Then obviously you develop a skilled human resources, which could be very useful to any kind of like, person. And it is like, somehow we all have to understand day by day the fees for our programs is going high and high, and we cannot charge those kind of like a fees to like the students. So some point of time, some fees we need to absorb in like, by institute. So if you look at the major universities in US and America, they pay only salary for like 10 months. 2 months salary you have to generate by your own. So that generation you can do it through the consultancy, through bringing the project and all this thing. And I'm sure that that kind of like a model is going to come into India very soon also. And each and every college will start asking you that, okay, we'll be giving you only like, 10 months salary. We don't want to give you for 2 months. 2 months is anyways your vacation time. So you try to generate your own revenue, right? So this will also help to institute to generate some kind of like a revenue for themselves, so that they can pay the salary to each and everyone, and they can also keep check on the fees that they are charging to the students, right? So it's a right balance between the fee and ROI, right? So, and then also it helps you to do some kind of like a startup. So currently I have been involved as a mentor into startup. In fact, myself, I'm going to start like a couple of startups soon. So those kind of like things are benefit of doing the application oriented like a research. So finally, if I wanted to summarize my talk, I may say that the fundamental research versus applied research, I have shown you what is the difference between this research and that research, how it is going to benefit you, how you have to take it ahead if you start working on applied research or application oriented research, right? What is the way of applied research, how you have to approach to the people, how you try to get those kind of like the people on this thing. And very important, first of all, you need to set your own goal and a pathway, right? For that, if you require any mentorship or anything, I'm always there. Maybe you can also find some other like a people, and the speaker who is going to come after me is also like a very known person, basically in a like a startup circuit. He helps lots of startup in doing the mentorship for them. So I mean, those kind of like peoples are always available. Always you can take guidance from them, go ahead with that thing, and we can work on this thing. So there are many issues that currently that we are facing related to funding, related to the in facilities and this thing. So only way that I can see to break those challenges is to work on applied research, which can turn into like good for us, then good for our society, our institute, and good for also country, right? So this is where we have to focus. So if I have to say again, we have to focus more on a Louis Pasteur's quadrant, where fundamental research and applied research both are matching, and then we are creating magic out of it, right? So these are some of the references. So thank you. And once again, I just wanted to thank Kalsekar College director sir, Tamboli sir, and his entire team to provide me this opportunity to share my some of my experience with all of you. And if you have any question, more than welcome. If you like to collaborate with me, you are more than welcome. You can write me on this email ID. This is my website also. If you like to connect on, so this is the QR code through we connect. So now I'm options. So if there are any questions, maybe we can go through these questions.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sure that our students, our parents has learned and got a lot of knowledge regarding the applied research. And I'm very happy that everyone has attended very nicely. Now I request participants, shall we go? We'll go for the question. We'll go for the questions of participant to the experts. So if you have any question, you can please type in the chat box. Or directly you can unmute yourself and you can ask this question to our expert.
Hello.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I am Suhail Amar.
Yeah.
Faculty of Civil Department. So I want to develop that certain codings on board, na?
Yes.
That is Arduino.
Yes.
Can you give me some reference book or some reference where we have to learn that code and all this?
Okay. As you wanted to like learn for like a Arduino board. In fact, I have developed one like a very good course. So that I will pass it on to Tamboli sir, and I request Tamboli sir to please circulate to all. And within that particular course, I have given lots of like websites and all those things from where you can try to learn those kind of like a thing. So I think that resource will be very useful to you. In fact, that is also available on my website. But as you mentioned that thing, definitely I'll passing on, and I will request him to circulate to all the students.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Anybody else who wants to ask the question? Dear participant, if you want to ask question, you can type also. I will read that question for our today's expert. Or directly, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good morning. I have a
very good morning.
question related. What is the better way to? Either I should go with a patent or I should go with a copyright. Like you have published one copyright, right?
Correct.
So what is the charges for the what is the total fees? Now government has given 80% concession to the educational institute, right?
Yeah, that is
Recently
very
I saw
yes.
the news.
Yes.
Yeah, so there is 80% concession. So what are the charges for copyright and what would be the maximum charges for the patent? Can you enlighten some light
Sure,
on it so that people can be motivated?
Sure. So first, I just wanted to ask you that what is basically whether you have developed like a software or you have developed any kind of like a hardware design.
I will be developing a hardware design, so I need that. So that's why I need to go for a patent.
Okay, yeah. So yes, so what you have identified is correct. So when you are developing some kind of like a hardware or something, then you can always go for like a patent. And simultaneously, if you have developed your own firmware or you have developed your own software, you can also apply for a copyright. Okay. So for the copyright, fees are very nominal. Just I think 500 or 500 rupees officially you have to pay. Then certain document you have to send it to that the Delhi office. I mean, there is where the copyright office is there. So you have to send. Then they go through their own check and this thing. If they find any particular like a discrepancy, they will let you know, and you have to answer those queries. So this entire process generally takes anything between like a 30 days to 60 days. Within that particular like a time, you are going to get the outcome. This is I am talking about copyright. Now, so in a copyright, you, as I mentioned, it is hardly going to cost you somewhere around like 600 to 700 rupees, not more than that. Now, when we are coming to the patent is a bit like a lengthy process, because in a patent, generally on an average, patent granting time is a 3 years to 4 years. Even if you try to put it on a fast track, it takes at least like a 2.5 years to give you the patent granting. Now, for a patent, first of all, it's a a bit complex kind of like a process, because you have to write this entire application. You have to be very thorough with a prior work check. So this prior work check requires lots of research, that if anybody else has done that kind of like a work, if yes or not, then if there is something kind of like unique into your particular like a design or something, so that you have to see and you have to check about it. And if you go to any particular like a professional, they will also help you, because there are many advocates nowadays, right? So generally all IIT and big institute, they tie up with this kind of like a law firm, and they give them like yearly some amount of like a fees, and then within a year they do n number of like application for us. But people like us, if we go to like a professional, so there are patent agent as well as like a patent lawyer, so they help you to do this entire process, writing claims and publishing those things. And it takes somewhere around like anything between like a 10,000 rupees to like 30-40,000 rupees. So this is kind of like I mean a big amount. And also to maintain the pattern every year you have to pay some fees also. And the patent duration is generally for like a 60 years, sorry, 20 years. And then copyright, it is generally for a 60 years, right? So and then in a patent when you put, so you can go for Indian patent, you can go for a foreign patent, and there are many more like different areas into that. And then let's say assume that you wanted to go for like Indian patent, so the expense will be somewhere around, if you take any professional help, anything between like 40,000 to 50,000 rupees. Now as you mentioned about the 80%, so that is true. The our minister Piyush Goyal ji, he declared that for all those people the fees are going to be 80% less. So that is absolutely correct, but still it has not come into the practice yet. It is just informed, but this is going to come into the practice. So as of now it is almost same fees at what we used to pay last, but even that fees is very negligible, right? So if you try to do your online application and everything, it will take only like 1200 rupees. So 1200 rupees, considering the current situation, not that big amount. Even you can go as of now for that kind of thing, right? Now as you are I'm assuming that you are a students of Kalsekar, right?
No, sir, I'm actually faculty of Kalsekar.
Faculty. Okay, so great. So in case if you are a faculty, let me give you your colleagues this, who is actually doing fantastic job in patent and this thing. Earlier he was like my ME student. Now he is working in telecommunication department. And Awaz, you might be knowing him. So he has like
Yes, sir.
several.
Awab, sir.
Yes, Awab sir, right? So he's a appropriate person. Mentor is already there with you, so you can approach to him, because I'm sure Awab has taken maybe somewhere around 7 to 8 patents, and I think he is doing a wonderful kind of like service to community by giving those kind of like awareness seminar and this thing, right? So the expert is there within your institute only, and you have a good mentor over there. So you can ask to Awab also that he might be able to help you to do this patent process. I guess maybe he already got like 6 to 7 patents, or even maybe more. Current situation I don't know, but that is what I have interacted with him in some time back.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, anybody else who wants to ask the question? Any student? Any students?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, I'm having a question as like that. If I'm installing some business plan, having
Okay.
a lots of having, so it may require a copyright or patent. What it required?
See, business processes, if you try to develop something new, particular like a process. Now let me give you example. Now let's say you are a pizza maker. So if you try to make a pizza, it is not a novelty. You will not get any kind of like a patent or a copyright on making a pizza, because everybody knows it's an open thing. But the way that you are making a pizza, let's say you are making a pizza completely automated, no human touch is going to be there. So on that entire process you can take particular, like, the patent, or maybe a business process like a patent on that thing, right? So in your case, let's say you are developing some kind of like a business model, so for that you can take a patent for it, right? So there is no harm in that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, anybody else? Okay, Saurabh sir, thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving answer of all these questions. Now, moving ahead, I request Dr. Mujim Tambuli sir, who is currently acting as a convener of Institutions Innovation Council IIC at AIKTC, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to Tambuli sir.
Thank you, Nitin sir. On behalf of Institutions Innovation Council, IIC of our institute, that is Kalsekar Technical Campus, I would like to thank today's expert speaker, Dr. Saurabh Mehta sir. Sir, you really enlightened us on the given topic, that is basically application of application-oriented research and need of an hour. So truly it is need of an hour. So by listening to you and showing like seeing your presentation, I also got encouraged, and I think our students and faculty as well, they must have been motivated to go for this kind of research, which can help them to encash their fundamental research. So heartfelt thanks to Dr. Saurabh sir, who is really a very good friend of mine. And every time when I contact him, he never says no. In fact, he provides us some set of speakers also if in need. So every time he is accessible, and without any hesitation, without any hindrance, or without any time constraint, he is always there to help us and extend his cooperation. So thank you very much, sir, and we'll be in touch. And even our students and faculty, they will be in touch to go for this kind of research, as well as how to go for patent and copyright that you rightly pointed out. Also, you told us the basics of applied research and how it can be converted into entrepreneurship, and what is the path for that, and what vision and what initiative or exposure and opportunities, and again, what are the avenues for applied research. So thank you very much, sir, once again, and definitely this will be very much helpful to us. So moving ahead with the session, I would also like to thank our director, sir, Dr. Abdul Razak, sir, who is a constant support and encouragement for all these kind of research-based activities. And he made himself available for the opening remark as well, even though through his busy schedule. Today is the pharmacist day, but still he made it a point to come and address the students and the faculty. So thank you, director, sir, for being the best part of this session, along with the today's speaker, Dr. Saurabh Mehta, sir. I would like to thank our coordinator for this impact lecture series, IIC coordinator, Dr. Firoz Khan. He is also very enthusiastic for this kind of activities, and also involved in research himself. So definitely this will help him also to get motivated himself. So thank you, Firoz, sir. I would like to thank our team, including Nitin sir, Nitin Sonone sir, who compared for you and nicely managed the session throughout this entire period of couple of hours. Thank you, Nitin sir. And at the same time, I would like to thank all the IIC members who are very cooperative with me to arrange this kind of activities. Throughout the year, you can say last couple of years, we are doing all those activities. So thank you, my team. And last but not the least, all the faculty members, those who attended this session, all the participants, all the students who got actively involved in today's session. Thank you very much. And I would like to request through this session that at 12 o'clock, we are having another session, which is given by Abhay Phansikar, sir. and he is the past IEEE chairman, Bombay section. And the topic is how not to be a failed entrepreneur. So we'll continue. You may take a break. And I once again, wholeheartedly thank all the participants for joining. And please do not go away, because the next interesting session will be also coming up at 12 o'clock. So thank you very much. Saurabh sir. Hello, Saurabh sir. Hello.
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
for
you, sir.
providing this opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we'll be in touch, and our students and even faculty will be in touch with you.
Sure, sir.
Okay, sir. So I think with this we can sign off, and the students, they may join back at 12 o'clock, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
wish
Thank
you all the students very happy learning. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks to you all, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Huh?
Hello, all the participants are requested be joined because our next session is going to start very soon. So instead of rejoining once again, be join and just take a relaxation of 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll start. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Abhay sir, good afternoon. Abhay sir, am I audible?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, yeah. Sir, if you want to share your this presentation, you can share it. I'll just make you co-host.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Abhay sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, shall we start, sir? Session?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone.
Sir, I'll start.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Nitin Sunone, on behalf of Anjuman-I-Islam Kalsekar Technical Campus, welcome each of you for today's IIC Impact Lecture Series on how not to be failed entrepreneur. This lecture has been organized by the Anjuman-I-Islam Kalsekar Technical Campus, IIC, New Panvel. We are very happy to have Dr. Abhay Phansikar as an expert. We also have Dr. Mujin Tamboli, convener of Institution Innovation Council, Dr. Firoz Khan sir, Innovation Activity Coordinator, Dr. Salman Beg sir, IPR Activity Coordinator, IIC, AIKTC, and we also wish to welcome our Director sir, Dr. Rajendra Magar sir, IQAC Coordinator and Head of Civil Engineering Department at AIKTC, New Panvel. Now I request hello, Dr. Firoz Khan sir. Yeah,
Yes,
over to Firoz Khan sir.
Assalamu alaikum and very warm good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to introduce eminent resource person, Mr. Abhay Phansikar sir. Currently, he is working as corporate strategy and technology consultant. He has worked with various organizations like Tata Power R&D, Onward Technology, Tech Mahindra, and Ravi Technology. Mr. Abhay sir has over 35 years of experience in the field of product development, embedded solutions, technical marketing, and turnkey offerings. Some of the systems he developed include mission critical military grade system, air traffic controller system simulator, radar traffic system, and healthcare ERP and portals. He is also associated with the education as an external faculty to engineering colleges and is on industry advisory board and board of studies of engineering colleges, project examiner, and undertakes lectures for skill and knowledge development, faculty development. He is a visiting faculty on cloud computing and advanced data structures and algorithms. He has performed variety of roles, which include director, president, and COO, chief technical architect in Indian and international organizations. He is well networked person in the industry, and his interests are in providing strategic direction to startup and growing organizations. He is a senior member IEEE, past chairman of IEEE Bombay section, and also a mentor on Startup Bootcamp, which is one of the three top global accelerators for startups. With this brief introduction, I extend my warm welcome to Mr. Abhay Phansikar sir and request him to start with the session. Abhay sir, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you, Feroz sir. Thank you, Dr. Feroz, Dr. Mujib, and Dr. Nitin for allowing me to have this opportunity, and AIKTC College to talk at your faculty development initiative. I looked at the program, and then I realized that you have good talks. The first one by Dr. Saurabh, I attended it. It was very nice, on application-oriented research, and that's like very essential to develop a business and entrepreneurial capabilities in oneself. I also realized that the next lecture is on how to develop your entrepreneurship mindset. Now, if that lecture was there earlier, I would have kind of skipped first few slides. Since that lecture is yet to happen, what I have done is I have taken the liberty of using about 4 or 5 slides from one of the presenters in the industry. He is Mr. Anand Gharpure, is the director of Sonic Multitech, and he takes lectures on developing entrepreneurial mindset. So what is an entrepreneur? We'll cover that in first of 4 to 5 slides, and then we will look at what should be done so that you don't fail as an entrepreneur. See, entrepreneurship is there in everyone. Now, whether that entrepreneurship relates into business, or it relates into research paper, or it relates into being a good teacher, they are all different facets of entrepreneurs. So what generally I say is entrepreneurs don't fail. They find a path, and then they go ahead and succeed in their path. But typically, entrepreneurship is also associated with success as a businessman. So it could be as a consultant, it could be even maybe as a director of an academic institution, or you could have your own startup and then grow it. So I have tailored my presentation to saying that how to run a startup on your own. I mean, assuming that you are not going to get guidance, help, or money from anyone. So you have to go through that struggle yourself. So how best you should organize yourself so that you succeed. So my talk is going to be more about that. So what is an entrepreneur? As Anand says, entrepreneur is something, a term which you use when you don't have a job, and then you say that, okay, I'm trying to do something on my own and I am starting. Or if you're not interested in doing a lot of things, and you want to have a fun life without being questioned. I mean, in the job you get questioned. If you're joining the family business, you get questioned. But if you are an entrepreneur, so-called an entrepreneur, you don't have to bother about workload. You don't have to bother about your job. And this is where entrepreneurs generally drift. And they kind of lose focus. But as Anand says, an entrepreneur is a chief of everything officer. So right from mopping and cleaning your office floors, I mean, we started, some of the entrepreneurs that I worked with started this way. In the morning, they used to come half an hour before the office starts, and they would do the mopping and cleaning, and then change and take the role of either the technical architect or head of sales or something of that kind. So you basically are the chief of everything. You are going to create your own destiny, and that's very important aspect that you have to keep in mind when you're doing entrepreneurship. Success is because you bring it along with other people who help you succeed, but failure is your own. You have failed because you have not done things properly. Others may still guide you, but the decision making remains at your hands. So you are chief of everything. So certain considerations for entrepreneurs is you cannot separate work from self. You cannot say that I am in a 9 to 5 kind of a job in my office, and after that I'll take my own free time. And the reason why I started a job, why I started a company, is because I didn't want to be tried by my bosses or tied to work. That's not the scenario. An entrepreneur, at least for first few years, is a 24 hours job. The second thing you have to be very, very aware of is entrepreneurs have to strive to earn more. The fundamental thing of survival is the ability to run fast, is the ability to run. So even if you are a kind of a small animal, or maybe lion, the king of the jungle, or you may be small businessman, you have to be on your toes and you have to strive to earn more. That mindset, if you get, then the chances of you succeeding are high. And for that, you really don't have to stop. You cannot stop thinking for a significant period of time. And you have to continue on your run. That's where an entrepreneur differs from a general non-entrepreneurial person. So what should an entrepreneur be doing? The first thing an entrepreneur does is innovates. Now, when you talk of innovation, innovation doesn't mean that you are doing something new. You might be doing the same thing which hundreds and thousands of people have done. But what's new in that? The new may be the locality. The new may be the way you are doing it. So suppose you are delivering goods. I mean, that's what a local grocer does. But if you bring some amount of difference in it by saying that you'll go to everyone's house and take orders, or you will create a software wherein you would have noted all the orders taken by these people earlier, and then you know what kind of things they order every month, and then you will stock them ahead of time, or you will buy in bulk and supply them, and you'll get a slightly better margin and those kind of things. So you are going to innovate. So each business, each and every business that everyone does, maybe it's a carpenter that comes to your home, or maybe it's someone who's building a BMW. They are innovating in some manner. The carpenter is either innovating in the way he develops his relationship, or the way he does quality job, or his availability, or his pricing. So that is one thing you have to realize, that you have to do something slightly different from what everyone is doing. Secondly is risk evaluation. You also have to understand at every point of time what the risks are. Once you can take a measure of the risks, whether it's business risk, whether it's environment risk, whether it's personal risk. I mean, risks come in different kinds of forms and formats. So you have to keep your eye on that. The third thing you got to do is build an organization. As I said earlier, the success can be everyone's contribution, failure is yours. So organization building is one of your prime responsibility. When you build an organization, that organization grows with you and you grow with the organization. And that's a critical aspect in your entrepreneurial journey. You have to manage all the inputs. Whatever comes to your desk, you are the manager of that. You have to manage money. That's another critical aspect. I mean, many businesses die because they run out of money. You also have to manage your customers. Customers are the key to any business. If there's no customer, the business does not exist. Your entrepreneurial capabilities have absolutely no avenue to grow further. And while doing all of this, you have to keep calm. I mean, it doesn't mean that you quiet all the time. Be very, very patient. You don't have to get upset. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to be frustrated soon. I mean, all of those things may come as a part of your journey. But still, you have to persevere. You have to continue. You have to keep cool, as the young generation says it. Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool. And those are the fundamental qualities of an entrepreneur. What does an entrepreneur do? When an entrepreneur in this context is someone who is going to start a company. Right now it's called as a startup. So basically this entrepreneur looks at opportunity analysis. Where is the opportunity where I can do business? And once you have done that opportunity analysis, you come up with a business plan and you set up your own company. I mean, there are various forms of company: proprietorship, partnership, private limited, limited liability. All that is a different game. That's not a part of what I'm going to talk. Once you set up your company, you acquire finances, you also acquire partners. I mean, you may be the complete owner of your business, or you may share your business with someone. But when I say acquiring partners, it means if you are, say, a supplier of water bottles. So your partners, even though they are not any shareholders, would be the companies who will manufacture those water bottles, maybe the companies who will do all the transportation, maybe a salesperson who will bring all the sales to you. So anything associated with the business with whom you're going to interact frequently, regularly, and there'll be a dependency on those people. They all are the partners to you. Then you determine the resources required and implement the plan. So you build up your team, you build up your partners, you find the sales channel, and you go ahead with the plan and execute it. And then scaling and harvesting the venture. Scaling means you really kind of take it to the next level, grow. And harvesting basically means you earn sufficient money out of it. Money, satisfaction, whatever your goals are, you earn out of that. While you are scaling the company, you may not be taking a whole lot of money home. I mean, whatever profits you have generated, maybe you will be putting back into the business to buy more raw materials, or to hire more resources, or to set up a new office. When it comes to a harvest time, that means this is the where your money will start coming in into your bank, and your business is kind of set up. So this is typically an entrepreneur's journey, an entrepreneur mindset that you have to begin with. And when you get into an entrepreneurial arena, you have to look at, along with your business, many of these things. One is the location where you are doing business. That's very important. Secondly is the availability of raw material in that location. So today, if I start a software company, and if I go to a tribal area, I'll be kind of struggling because the technical resources that I want may not be available over there. But if I'm kind of starting a company where I'm doing some herbal products, going into a tribal area might be a right choice. There I get good quality raw material. So that's the aspect of business. Along with that, you have to see that you have proximity to the market. The closer you are to the market, the easier for you to supply, and your cost of supply is low. So if you are in the IT market and your clients are connected via internet, proximity is as close as your access to your computer. So the whole world is right next to you. But if you are in hardware supply, suppose you are supplying some new high-end network connectivity products or wireless sensors or IoT devices, then proximity to your market will be a key factor. Labor supply. I mean, when you're into manufacturing, are you going to get the right set of people? When you're supplying all of your products, do you have a good transportation hub that's available? I mean, some of the countries did much better than other countries, not because they had good skills or they were developing cheaper products, but overall they were able to supply quality product because they were able to transport them faster, quicker, and on time, and it made a huge difference. So when you are looking all of that, you don't set up a business just because you're living in Panvel and you find it easy to go to the home every evening. You have to look at all of these other aspects like infrastructure, what all infrastructure is available in your area, what kind of government incentives that are there. If you are a medium to small enterprise, if you are a startup, are you getting any tax benefit? If you locate your office or a factory in a certain area, if you move to a different state, all of this is going to be very, very critical to you. Combine that with climatic factors. I mean, if your business is dependent, if you're an agricultural entrepreneur, climate will play a huge role into it. If you are in some storage or those kind of facilities, then climate again, whether it rains, floods, all of this you really have to consider in your solution. So you have to understand the nature of the business. You have to understand what all things are required along with that. And at the same time, you really have to know where your target customer lies and how you approach the target customer. So once you have kind of formed all of this base as an entrepreneur, you start your journey and then go ahead. So my presentation normally would have started from this point. I just took those 5 slides from Mr. Anand Bharpure's presentation because they give you a good idea of what an entrepreneurial mindset should have. And I think either next week or a couple of weeks later, you also have an lecture from another eminent speaker about entrepreneurial mindset. So assuming that now you have entrepreneurial mindset, you also have read that almost 95% of the businesses fail. So it's not the entrepreneur who has failed, but the journey, the business that an entrepreneur started did not succeed. So what can we do so that we should not be a failed entrepreneur? So my attempt is to give you an idea of what one should be doing. This is generally based on the experience of people that I have worked with. I have in the last 10 years worked with many startups. Prior to that, I was in a job as Dr. Firoz gave in the introduction, that I had gone to be director and chief operating officer of listed companies and those things. But there, the environment was completely different. From there, I started working with startups, helping them, mentoring them. And there I've seen a lot of challenges, and I'm just trying to put all of that experience into this presentation. So as a startup, now you have had the business idea. It's very clear in your mind. You have your target market. That is also very clear. You know where your target market is. You know what your business idea is. The third thing that you should have, and that's very, very critical, is the passion in you. I just attended the previous lecture by Dr. Saurabh Mehta, and you could really see, you could feel the passion in his talk. Why application-oriented research is very, very critical, and he is presenting it so passionately. This passion should relate to you in your business. If you think you are doing just some business because there is money in it, and then you think that, okay, I'll do it for a couple of years, I'll make some money and exit, and then I'm not considered business, the people and the users, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to succeed in that mindset. You should have a passion in doing what you're doing. And that passion will drive you. That passion will help you go through all the difficulties, face any challenges. So that's another critical ingredient of an entrepreneur. Do things passionately. If you don't find passion, or if you're just doing it because someone told you to do, and it's not what you wanted to do, that's going to be one of the paths which may lead to failure. So you have to avoid that. And then you should have leadership skills. It is very, very critical. If you don't have them, learn them. You go and meet people, talk to them, understand what is it that is making them a leader. Because you have to have that skill in you. You got to make decisions. You got to work with people. You got to take people along with you. You got to drive them. So assuming all of this is there with you now, business idea, target market, passion, and leadership skill, that is also there with you. Good. So what's the next challenge you will have? The next challenge you will have is solution envisioning. You have this business idea, but can you translate it into a solution? You want to supply water to people, but can you really take it at the time when they want, in the cost when they want, the quality they want? Or you're developing a software for a bank? Do you really understand the challenges to a detailed level, that the solution that you build will solve the bank's problem? So solution envisioning is very, very critical, which many of the entrepreneurs are able to do. That's not an issue. Then you have to have your market reach. So suppose you are doing a software for a cooperative bank. Simple, something like an inventory management, or stores management, or customer management, KYC management. I mean, these are all the needs which the banks have. There are so many cooperative banks. They are all spread over Maharashtra, and if you just target them, you'll find thousands of them. But do you really have the reach? Do you know who are the decision makers? How quickly can you reach them? Will they talk to you? All of these factors you have to consider. And I'm presuming you have considered that also. And you have built your own team. So suppose you are good at sales, but you're not good technically. You have found another colleague, another partner who is the technical face to your business. You are the sales face, and there could be another supporting partner to your business. All of this is done. Then what you need is sustenance. You may or may not be able to make money in day one. You may take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Business is a long-term entity. So you really have to be there for a significant period of time to survive, to sustain, to grow, to scale, become really big, become different, become a quality service provider. All of this needs sustenance. As I mentioned, these are the ingredients. You started with a business idea, you have your target market, you are passionate, you are now a leader, you're taking people along with you, you know where your market is, you have created a solution for the market, you have built up a nice team, and all of you are mentally prepared to sustain this business for a long period of time. This is where your startup starts. So what do? You reach to the market and start selling. Okay, you have developed your product. You are now reaching to the market and you have started selling it. Then comes two critical aspects: the product innovation and adaptation. Once you start going to the market, you will realize that whatever you thought as the right product is not what the market wants, or the market wants you to change certain things. So the market is asking you to do innovation on a regular basis. And while you are doing all of this, one critical aspect you have to look at is funds management. So this is where your risk analytics will start coming into play. Are you developing your product correctly, on time, at cost? In many a time I have seen that people give preference to putting in less money, and they say, okay, I don't want to hire one more resource because that's going to cost me money. I'm okay if my product gets delayed by a month. But in reality, that's going to be a risky business. You could have someone who will come in as a competitor and offer something better, or the client to whom you want to give this product wanted it today, and then after a month he says, okay, forget it, now I don't need it. So all those kind of things happen. So your product development should be on time all the time. Your reach to the market has to be there all the time. So whether a person needs a product or doesn't need a product, you really will have to keep in touch with the customer and manage your funds very nicely. So now, how do you get the income? In this business, you will, just one sec. I think there's a crow that's probably disturbing all of you. Yeah, so you will get your revenue by product sales, or you will get your revenue by servicing your own product. Now you have to understand the criticality of your business. What is it that's bringing you money into your business? Are you getting your revenue by selling your product? Are you selling some software license, or are you selling some hardware box? Once you have sold that, are you doing an annual maintenance contract for that, which means we'll be getting service revenue out of it? or are you getting revenue by service projects? When I say service project, that means you have started an IT company. You're going to various clients and saying that, okay, what's your requirement? Oh, you want me to build a customer management software? Okay, I'll do it for you. You go to someone else and he says, okay, oh, you want me to build a legal case tracking software? I'll build it for you. So you get revenues by service projects, by developing customized software for your clients. Or you get revenues from projects, but they are spread in different kind of baskets, which means you approached an insurance company first and did one premium management software for them. Then you went to a lawyer and then did legal case management software for them. Then you went to a retailer and did some inventory management software. I mean, in the market today, there's need for everything. People say that the market will get saturated very fast, but that's not the case. As I mentioned earlier, everyone is innovating and everyone is bringing in a difference to whatever they are offering. So right from a small retailer, big companies, they are continuously modifying themselves, which means continuously they are seeking some help from someone to do some aspect of their job. So there's always a business opportunity which will be there. Then are you kind of doing it by a project spread which is in different baskets, or are you doing it a project spread which are doing it for a single domain? So that is one thing which you'll have to look at very, very critically and crucially. They will basically change the nature of your business and the factor which will be important in deciding whether you succeed or you fail. So one thing you have to do is you have to do a strength, weakness, opportunity and threat analysis, and you have to do it on a regular basis. What are the strengths generally you have? Okay, you have an idea. You also probably have a long-term client base. You have product life cycle experience. So now as a startup, maybe you started this startup after working in the industry for 2 years, or you started this startup immediately after you passed out of the college. But while doing that, you have built a product and you have the experience of developing a product, selling it, modifying it. In some cases, you may have that. In some cases, you may not have that. In some cases, you may have a long-term client base, or you may not have a long-term client base. But as the business grows, the business will grow on long-term client base. The business will go on how life cycle. Once you have that, you'll have a good market at a given point of time. You will have experience, or you will gain experience. Being young, being startup, being on the job for 24 hours, you have agility. And you being your own leader, you will be again agile to make decisions faster. And the best thing that you have with you today is the cost of operations. It's lower because you have not built up a company which is very heavy on cost. You have not built up a spanky office and give car to everyone. And then people are flying business class flights to go to meet customers. All of that is not there. Right now, you are very agile. You have low operation. You are an entrepreneur. You are trying to reach the market and trying to succeed with the best possible offering that you can give. All these strengths, what are the weaknesses? The weakness that certain businesses will have is by absence of target clients. Okay, what you do is you start getting into getting orders because you got some reference. You went there. He said, "Arey, see, I have a friend who's a lawyer. So can you do some custom software development for him?" So you do that. And someone says there's a retailer. And third person says, our society wants to kind of do some accounting package, or they want to build up a product where they can send notices to everyone. They can send maintenance dues, reminders, and all those things. So what happens is you basically start diverting from being approaching target customers. You should, when you start as an entrepreneur, you should say that I am going to service insurance companies which are in this domain. They are doing health insurance, that too specifically for heart related items, and whose premium collection is in this range, and who have at least 100 dealerships and those kind of things. So that is one way of looking at it. Or second way of looking at is you will target restaurants for them to do a food ordering solution. Many things you can do, but you should have target customers. The other thing you should be really careful of is your growth is given by service top line. Service means you are doing something which is not inherent to you as a product which you're offering, but you're doing something which a client has asked you to do. So like if I call a carpenter at my home and he says, you repair this, then it's a service. And this kind of service, the carpenter will not really grow very big unless they start a company like the Urban Flap, where they employ hundreds of carpenters and keep sending them to everyone. But if you are an entrepreneur and you just are a service-oriented carpenter, you'll be doing repair jobs, you'll be earning daily wages. You may be earning nice daily wages, but scaling that business is going to be very difficult. But if you are a product company, that means as a carpenter, you are supplying furniture. Then you will be able to get premium, you will be able to earn much more. So those kind of things, you'll have to really understand what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And there is something what I have said is slow in failing fast for product ideas. What is a fail fast? So you have an idea, you have taken it to the market, and you are about to kind of revenue out of it.
But of course, you have to put in many more.
You realize that this is not going to work. Maybe whatever you have developed, you're finding it very troublesome to sell, or the clients are looking for something else, and you have put in so much of money. What you should do is you should realize that you have developed a product which is not very good, which may not see the light of the day after some time, and then you got to change, you got to innovate, and whatever your money you have put in is lost. Basically take that decision and fail fast and come up with something else. Modify your business idea. That way you will have a better chance of succeeding. And you have to also see whether you are getting expert guidance or a mentor. Many times you feel that you know everything, you're doing everything, and you don't want to talk your problems with someone in the industry, or you don't want to seek guidance from people. That is a big weakness which will kind of hamper your success. In terms of opportunities, I'll say today there's a healthy ecosystem. India is becoming a developed country. So difference between developing country and a developed country is, in a developing country, most of the economy is through manufacturing growth. Okay, so you'll see large companies, they are manufacturing many things. So when I passed out my engineering way back in 1983, that time India was being considered as a developing economy. Your dream would be to work with Tatas and L&Ts and those kind of things. They're manufacturing trucks, they're manufacturing infrastructure products. And there were very few small ancillary industries that were there. And the nature of business or entrepreneurial capabilities saw light of the day only in these kind of companies, because you couldn't start business which would give you revenue, which would give you the reach to a set of target customers and whether they had that buying ability. So 20 years back, if I had started Uber, maybe no one would have used it. Today, with in the country and people traveling to work, and people had the ability to pay for a taxi, the IT industry itself really changed the game and Uber came in. So the healthy ecosystem is there today. Angel investment is coming in. Earlier, no one would put money into a startup, or if someone says he's an entrepreneur or a startup, people would not really look at it. Today, that whole environment is different. You will get money from angels. People will be willing to put money into your business. People will be willing to back you. And even big corporates, or you go to a bank and say you're a startup, bank is happy to look at you today. 20 years back, if I had gone to a bank, the first thing they would have asked is, where is your product working? How many years is the product working? Which is the market for you? And that question would be asked even by very small cooperative banks. Virtually, that would mean is the market was open for products that came from abroad and not from homegrown companies. That whole scenario is changed today. And today you can position your product very fast. That's an opportunity. You've got social media, you've got very good connectivity, you've got very good transportation facilities, couriers, and then very good banking systems. So you can position your product very fast. The threat now is in your business, have you planned properly? So planning becomes a very crucial part of your entrepreneurial journey. If all the strengths are there with you, the opportunities are there with you, you have covered your weaknesses, then planning, if it is not proper, it's a big threat for you. Secondly, you also have to realize that your products have a limited time window. If you're doing something in your neighborhood locality, you may find that there's someone else who will say, okay, I'll do it slightly cheaper, and then you'll suddenly lose those customers. Because whatever you're doing doesn't have a huge entry barrier. They can repeat it fast. They have seen this model successfully working. So they don't have to innovate. They just have to repeat what you're doing, and then they will start coming in and eating your customers. So you have to see. So that's a threat that you will have to consider. That you should look at the cash burn. Okay, as long as you have cash in your business, you will be set. The moment you run out of money, you're gone. You have to look at this from a very critical angle. Now, I have talked all of this to the previous idea, mission, leadership, market reach, solution, team, sustenance. You have all of this now that you have started. So you are an entrepreneur about to succeed that kind of a stage, you now know where your money is coming from. You have really, and then you also now are just strengths, your weakness, your opportunities, and you're doing a risk analysis on a regular basis. What is it? What else should I need to do that I should not fail? So you are now at this juncture where you have developed that idea and you have created something as a minimum viable product, which means a product in a shape that it can sell. You may not add the features, but the car may not have a vision in place, or the car air conditioning system, any other features that add later, but still have a viable product. You have a car which you will be able to sell and for which you will have customers. There will be customers which will say, okay, I'm right now, there's no AC or there's no anti-collision. I'm happy to buy this vehicle. And then you adapt your product and scale the business. So this is routinely what happens to successful companies. That idea gets developed into minimum viable product. They start selling, start adapting the product, they start enhancing the features, and then they scale. And while they are in more, they'll get funding. So people invest company, or they may go to equity, or they may be able to raise money by diluting. There are many ways of doing that. Or the customers will say that, okay, I'll give you an advance. I like your product. I'll give you an advance and give it to me. In some manner or the other, they will have funds that will be there in the system by which they will be able to, or they'll be able to get bank loans. They'll be able to get government land grants. The other critical aspect that you will have to look at is what happens if funds are not available. What happens if you are going back? So what you do as a startup, you will do production of your idea by way of demos. Okay, chalo, I have this idea. I cannot build a whole product out of it. I don't have a cash. Let me show this demo to the bank or to some investor and say that I'll build this. So you start showing these demos to different people, and then they'll start saying, oh, I like this, but can you add this feature to me, and then add this feature and come back to me. You will get excited and you'll say, oh, areva, this so and so customer wants so and so feature, and then he is willing to not put money. He's simply given you some time, looked at your software and said, okay, if you have these features, I might consider buying. So what you do, you start developing proof of concept and do a pilot for the customer. Now look at where you are. The green color is now slowly going towards red. That means you are developing a lot of proof of concepts and you are doing a lot of pilots, but there is no significant cash that is associated with that. It's very, very risky situation. So if you are kind of talking to the customers, but there's no money on the table, or if there's no written order on your table, you're likely to be sunk. And that's what happens with a lot of businesses that close down. They feel very happy because they are in touch with the customers and the customers is giving them a good amount of lip service, saying very good, very nice. That person is a buyer. That person will say, okay, once you do this, I'll take it to my management and then I'll get an order for you. Very risky. Okay. What happens is you start changing track. You start doing things what your customer demands. You lose the focus of your product and you lose the focus of that revenue that is there. So what you do is, okay, to make this product, you take some loan from someone. So you have debt. You don't have paying customers with you. Your developers start wondering, oh, am I working with a risky team? So people who have invested, the people who are partners, they'll still continue to be there. But one programmer, he says, I'm not sure whether I'll get next month's salary, but there's this other company which seems to be a stable company, and that person will go and you will start encountering delays. Once you start encountering delays, the customers will not basically entertain you. And this leads to the closure of the business. So I'm not saying it's an entrepreneurship failure. That person obviously would have learned something out of this. And then probably he'll do a startup again and then come back and grow. But it's the failure of the business. So as an entrepreneurship, you should not fail. Your business should not fail. You have to be very, very clear that even if you are in a red area, you'll develop your idea, you'll make a minimum viable product, you will start selling. Selling is very, very critical. Selling, adapting, and scaling. So there's money always coming into the system. If you're going the other path, that you are doing POCs and pilots where there are no firm purchase orders and there's no firm commitment from someone. See, I've worked with startups which have raised money. I mean, or things like Zomato, if you have heard of, that Zomato still loses money, or Uber still loses money, but as a business, it is losing money. But there are investors who are kind of keeping it afloat. They are putting it money because they want this business to scale up very big. When you are having only 10,000 customers, you will be losing money. But when you go to 100,000 customers, you will become highly profitable. Now, those kind of things do happen. And for those kind of things, there are investors who are putting in money. So you have to be very, very aware of what your cash flow situation is, what your funding situation is, and business situation is. And that is going to be the make or break the business. So what you should be doing as a business, or what you should not be doing as a business. There are people who will say that, okay, I have got these mentors. He's working in a big company or a big bank, and he's agreed to come on board and he's an advisor, but he is not an insider. So what happens is that person is an advisor and you go to him problem and he'll give an advice, and then the relationship remains solid. That kind of does are not going to, okay. You have to have going to be an insider in your company who will also put in a significant amount of time talking to you, understanding, maybe having a weekly review call depending on the stage of business. Okay, don't do strategic activities. That's very, when you are an entrepreneur, when you are a startup, and when you're running, don't bother about something which is not strategic to you. You should not really be worried by your friends. Come, let's have a vacation. You need a break. You're working 24 hours. But maybe at that point of time, you really work. I mean, you have that energy, you have that passion, that quality to sustain. then you should divert. There are at times when you feel that, oh, I've put in a lot of efforts and then I need a break. You should take a break at that point of time. That's very critical. That's very crucial to your business. And that's a strategic break. It's a strategic timeout that you're taking, not because generally four friends are going somewhere and you do not change your product offering to suit unprofitable non-track. The premium collection for an insurance, and then have some regular who come product तो अच्छा है वो थोड़ा सा tweak कर मेरा invoice collect लिए वो बात you should do it because you feel that oh this is the problem, tweak our product and 10 other reasons invoice collection for while we are making this as a premium collection software for insurance agencies, do it. But just because you have someone who is a friend and then he says, "ये product मेरे लिए बना के दे दो, I'll give you money," and you lose your focus of what developing for your customers for getting you are, and that's what the next line also says. Don't take up deviation projects to generate cash. See, when we were doing development way back, almost 20 or 30 years back, we did take these kind of projects, but we limit to the amount of money that was coming in. I mean, we would limit it to say 5 or 6 lakh rupees in a year. When we were a team of 5 or 6 people, it would not sustain our salaries for a couple of months also. But why we were taking that? Because through that we were able to build some small components we were putting in our product. Okay, so we were looking at them as some kind of a strategic activity, and we were also able to generate some cash, which allowed us to pay bills. So that was helping. Was basically only one person's worth of effort, and the other 5 people were still focused on the product development. We reach a stage where more than % of our team is doing one non-strategic product development. There's a good chance that your business will into some kind of an issue. Also, don't over time for investor activity. Today, the ecosystem is such that you go to the market and there'll be 10 investors who are willing to talk to you. They'll ask you to do अच्छा ये presentation बना के आओ, ये business plan बना के ले दो. Can you some for target customers and their responses? Can you get some kind of a pilot for them? When you doing all of this, you get excited. Okay, the investor is willing to put $100,000 or $250,000 into my to sign to that effect. For that, he is going to ask me to do so many other things. There, in a sticky wicket, a risky situation, you are doing a lot of activities which are non-productive, and you are running something first told you in the next 30 days or 50 days. So you have to be very critical for this kind of activity. In the initial days of your business, everything that you, I mean, the first lesson I learned was from my first helmet when he started his business, and I asked him, "अरे वाह वाह वाह, तेरा visiting card दे दे." He said, "visiting card बनाने के लिए मुझे 4 आने का खर्चा आया है, एक वैसे खरीद लो." I said, "What's this joke?" बोलते नहीं नहीं नहीं, I mean whatever asset I have built, I have to earn revenue out of it. And as a friend, you this visiting card, it's not help. To buy it from me for 1 rupee, which means I have recovered my investment and made some profit out of it. Or else you say that, okay, you are taking my visiting card, I'll put you at least 1 or 2 people, which are my target customers. And I said, wondering, oh, what is this man talking about? But then very clear, the thought was there in his mind that anyone and everyone whom he talks to or spends time with is going to give him some amount of benefit, or does like is generate some revenue for him. Today, he's a very, very businessman, and he is actually helped a lot of our action in how they want to grow. So these things that I'll say you should not be doing. What you should be doing, get a mentor. See, as young people, you may not understand many business wherein a mentor would help. Getting a mentor, being a mentor would help. But today you don't have the ability to pay. You may have 2 years. Take the commitment. Give commitment to the mentor. Sir, when I start earning a revenue of say 1 CR, my profitability, say suppose it in a year or whatever it is, mentored me in such a time, compensate you. Or you'll say that I'll compensate you today by giving this, say, I'll give you 2%, 4% of my stake in the company. And out of that 2% is something which I'll give you right because I trust you, I like you. And another 2 people I'll give you if we achieve these targets. Then what happens is the mentor is also interested. The mentor will guide you. The mentor is going to benefit from the time is linked, and the mentor will ensure that you are tracked. So a mind will definitely help you. There are many people who are happy to guide, and they do it because they want to give it back to the society. So they are good people to be connected with, but they'll still remain an outsider. They will never ask money from you. But if you offer them and say that this is what you will be getting, give you much more better attention and much more time. Even though that person is doing similar work with other companies as a part of charity or giving back to society, it makes a difference. So remember that while doing that. The second thing you should be doing is cash flow statement and track daily. And your trackers should have like, oh, you have to pay not only your telephone bill, electricity bills, and other things, but that you have decided to go for a party, your office, or your I meet, which is happening in the, you're going there to spend some money, or your cousin's wedding is there and you're going to buy a new dress. Whatever gets spent, you really have to track it. You and your partners who are there, who are putting money in the business, you have to make sure that you are never out of money in the business. And if you can ensure that, there's a good chance that you will succeed. Then you think 10 times before accepting the proof of concept. When people ask you to do a POC and they're not going to pay for it, you really see how critical critical that person is, whether it's your target market or no. At the same time, keep on cash infusion. So how can you get money into your business? You can get it from angel. You can get it as a loan from banks or friends, or you can get it as grants. There are many government schemes that are there today. Banks, there are trusts who are happy to, they are angel investors like Mumbai Angels, IIE and all those things. They will give, or today there's a kind of business incubation ecosystem which is becoming very big. So a lot of colleges and management institutes have started business incubation centers. Business incubation center, they'll give you space discounted. They'll be a lot of company formation, contract making facilities at a highly discounted rate. And many a times they will also give you interest-free loans or grants. You to your business. So these are available now. The ecosystem is there. So evaluate that actively. Look at various business innovation centers that are there. In Mumbai itself, I know not many colleges have started that. They are successful out of it. One of the biggest. I'm a part of an business center. We evaluate startups every quarter and put in money in them. One of the startups has gone really very big is PhonePe. It started as a business idea in one that I am associated with. So, and it was started by a college student of that college who worked for a year or two and then came back and then grew this business. So that is very critical. Actively search for paying customers. Every time keep your eye on paying customer and strategic customer. Don't go to paying customers which are non strategic. You may run into problems. You see these. So when I say service projects, they are these kind of custom projects which are kind of non-strategic for you, and they drain your resources. And do risk mitigation plan and tracking. So do it on a regular basis. What, in my opinion, get a mentor, look for actively customers, you look for where you can keep on getting money, and risk mitigation analysis. There's a chance that you will not fail. And once you start doing this, what will you create out of it? You will create strong. There are these people who will be willing to pay. You'll always create positive cash flows. Once you get into that habit of managing your track, you will always be cash flow positive. You will also look at creating a metrics-driven organization. Metrics-driven organization means you will put certain numbers to everything. What's my sales target? What's my revenue? What's my profitability? What's my direct cost today? What's my indirect cost? What is the return on investment that I'm getting? All of this are certain numbers which you can put to understand the health of your business. When you create a metrics-driven organization, so if a person, how we are doing, to my startups, and if they say, yeah, we are doing good or we are doing okay, I mean, these are the kind of answers I don't like to hear. They say we are doing good. Our CAGR is this. Our ROI is this. Our cash ability is 3 months of salary payment. Our pipeline is this strong. We are right now 40% of our target. It's just the third month and we already have 40% of the orders. We have high probability order list to a tune of another 30%. And we know that we are in discussion with certain customers, 5 customers, which are likely to be converted as target customers. When this kind of language comes in, that is metrics-driven organization. That means you have a very good clarity on what you're doing in your business. You create something called as a cash cow. One cash cow means you should at least have one who's going to pay you long term, who likes you, who loves you. Even if you have one customer of that kind, you will survive in the business and will be able to grow. So from your target customers, from the clients you have, you try to find one person, one company, which will give you repeat business, and make sure that they're always there. Make sure that they are happy. Make sure that you deliver quality to them, and they will keep on paying you on a regular basis. They'll in future also may the game changer for you. You always also have to create capacity, but no loss. Is you say that okay, you are a 5 people company today, and then you say that okay, I'll hire another 3 people. Make sure that your cash flow is well maintained, and you are building this additional capacity by investing your profit. But if you start investing your capital in a big way, or you start losing money because you are hired 3 or 4 people and they are becoming non-productive, it's going to hurt your business in a big way. Or you have bought point of things. So you have to keep an eye on that. That's very, very crucial. And last but not the least is create a homogeneous team. The team, which is very, very homogeneous, will ensure success. If you have fragmented team, if you have people who are not gelling with each other, but you're kind of keeping them, if you're keeping a good technical person who is not happy with you, but you are not able to find someone to replace him, he may in a shorter period, but in the longer period, you're going to get lost in a big way because that person will crack the team at some point of time. So when you're working together, at least in the initial days, keep the team homogeneous. Make sure that all of you work together for a longer term. And to do that, make sure that all of you benefit from the growth in the business. You don't look at your initial resources as someone who are work higher and I've paid them their daily wages and they should go away. That's because they will later become the main pillars of your business. So this is what I wanted to share. Basically, if you look at the slides that I've gone through, business idea, target market, passion, leadership, market reach, solution, team sustenance will give you the business. Then taking the business to the market will give you the money. Understanding where the money comes from will help you position yourself better. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses would definitely give an edge to your business. If funding is available, even with the idea and no money, you will be able to scale. But if funding is not available, and if you deviate your track, then you are likely to fail. then don't do non-strategies, don't do mentors who are good to see on it, but they are not helping you, or don't overshoot time allotted for investor activity. Don't network with non-strategic personnel. And what you should do is track your cash flows, make sure that you're taking the right kind of orders, you're doing risk analysis, and in that you're creating a strong pipeline, you are having an homogeneous team and having positive cash flow. This way you will translate your idea into value creation. I think that's what I wanted to share. And if you kind of keep this in mind, I'm fairly sure you will not fail as an entrepreneur. So I'm happy to take any questions after this.
Thank you very much, Abhay. Now I request
So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I request our participant, those who are having question, they can ask the question, or either they can type in a chat box. I will read. Otherwise, you can unmute yourself and you can ask to the.
Hello, Abhay sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. This is Dr. Mujib Tambodi. Sir, I have one question, sir. Can I ask?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, sir, my question is this: if you are an entrepreneur, or if you are a budding entrepreneur, so what is the most and foremost thing for a student who should take up during his academics, like when he's studying in engineering, suppose for a third year or final year student, what is the most important aspect, or what could be, as per your experience, what could be the basic thing he should start doing from his third year, that is pre-final year, up to say final year, so that when he comes out directly he can enter into that particular domain. So what he must do in the final or pre-final year to be an entrepreneur, so that he should not be failed once he comes out.
Yeah. So basically, you should start thinking about your career in third year. So I have been associated with one student, Vienna IT, who one day in the third year said that I want to start my company, and I am very clear, मैं company ही बनाऊंगा और मैं ये चालू करूंगा. And he was very clear in the domain that he used to work with. So he started basically focusing his spare time in understanding what is required for that domain. So basically he was looking into loyalty domain. He started reading about he gained knowledge, and whenever any person or any that came this make about this idea of starting a company in this domain. What happened was that made him remain focused, and every time he would talk about this to someone would say, "Arey, that's good. You want to be in the loyalty space, but do you know people who will be able to develop this platform? Do you know what are the challenges in this platform? Do you know which kind of customers that would use them?" And have you looked at this conference and people who are in the loyalty to this international conference or this conference held globally? So this person aligned himself into thinking about that domain. At the same, that person realized that when you are going to main, a lot of work is needed on the analytics front. I mean, when you are a loyal customer, they are tracking you in your purchases, they're tracking your preferences, giving you discount coupons, and then they're giving you benefits. So all about analytics. So while analytics was not a major course in this man's study, he looked at analytics. He also looked at the new languages that are coming in. If you want to build a tool, nice engine, should I be looking at Python, Ruby on Rails, and Java? By the time this man had come out of his engineering, he had a lot of clear idea on the technical aspects, the client aspects of business, and immediately one person got associated with him. He said, I'll kind of put money in your company. You run everything. I'll give you some angel investment. He gave him some 5 lakh rupees to start his business. And then he approached the business incubator gave to start the company in their college to grow it. That company put investment on global accelerators, and they are now doing reasonably well. So basically, what you should be doing is you should that you're going to be an entrepreneur. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you should also start thinking of what you want to do. You target, start visiting. A lot many times I get called from students who say that they want to have a lecture in their college. Now, this is not something with the faculty is doing. The students are approaching because they have heard from someone that, okay, I talk on entrepreneurship, or I talk on what you can do in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So which all areas are kind of nice to build your solutions. And then what these students have done, many of them have taken this as their final year project. So building a loyalty solution becomes their final year project. So automatically they are kind of doing the work which is required by the company while they are doing their engineering. I've seen a lot of AI and ML based projects that college students are doing. That is with them being entrepreneur once they pass out. And while they are developing this in the college, they are also talking to incubators, them start in that incubation space. And I'm sure they will succeed. So that is things doing, it will move and give you an starter's advantage.
Abhay, sir, there is one more question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Dr. Tushar sir want to ask that what kind of care should be taken if we are having a startup business?
See, you have to be very clear on your partnership arrangement. Whatever contract you do with your partner should be extremely clear. Secondly is you also have to understand what the partner brings into the relationship. Like I know of people who's got a maker-seller relationship. Like there's one fellow who's technically very strong, but doesn't understand sales. There's another fellow who's a very strong seller, but doesn't understand technology. Now they themselves are together and have built it. I also have come across partnerships where 4 people started, and then they had to let go one of the partner because uh, the partner was not putting in sufficient amount of time in the business, or the partner was looking at it as a side business and trying to generate some more money from his family, or in some cases the partner said कि नहीं नहीं, my parents are saying कि इतना पैसा तो घर में आना ही चाहिए, so either we get that much money in the next 3 months, or we close the business. So this kind of things will not help. So partnership may, if you look at, one thing is what is the value that the partner is bringing to the relationship. That secondly is what kind of nuisance that partner is likely to do. That should be very clear, and you should make sure that those nuisances will not affect you, or you have to be that you will not do that kind of nuisance in the relationship. Thirdly is whether the partner is passionate and dependent on this business only. The partner is dependent on this business only along with you, then all the energies will be targeted towards that whole business. And fourthly is, if all of these things match, you should have a clear understanding on the partnership. Is it a 50-50? Is it a 20-30? It is what who's bringing to the table and what they'll take out from this business, and how long will they remain as partners. All that has to be discussed very clearly right at start. Then the relationship goes very well.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm requesting all the participants, the new updated feedback link has been given in the chat box. Please click on that link and give your valuable feedback. Anybody else from the faculty or participants who want to ask the question? They can unmute themselves and directly they can ask the question to our expert.
Sir, can I?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sir, I just want to know if in business planning, the calculated risk is important part or not?
It is very important. When you plan a business, you always do a portion called as risk mitigation and analysis. So you list down all the risks that are like that. I mean, when we do a business plan, unperceived risks. So we list all of them, and then against each risk, we put a mitigation plan. I mean, what happens if you don't get the promised money, or what happens if the client delays the project? These are all perceived risks. So how long can you sustain? What happens if one of the partner decides to go away? Is that a risk? Is that not a risk? All that you create. So it's not only the business, the sales risk and other risks that you model, but there's so many risks that also you need to consider. I mean, when I did with some of the startups, I also used to say, what happens if you die in an accident? And these kind of things, if this person becomes incapacitated,
okay, we are going to be successful in this plan. So there is a lots of risk on ourselves, na sir?
Yeah, there is 100%. No demand. I mean, when you start a venture, that new venture starts with the risk. And when you look at all the risks and what you can mitigate, like if I'm starting a way, I'll say, okay, I'm going to start a new software company, but I don't have any customer. I don't have any developers with me. So my first risk is who are going to be my customers, and then how quickly will I be able to onboard those customers. Then the next risk is, suppose I am able to onboard those customers, how quickly will I be able to hire people? Then will I be able to pay my employees that salary? Do I have 10 lakhs as cash? So all of these risks get listed, and then what are the mitigations? Once you write that, then your life becomes much easier.
Thanks for your valuable knowledge, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anybody else who want to ask the question? Because in the chat box, I was seeing only one question. There is no other question. Anybody else from the participant faculty want to ask the question? Okay, if not, then moving ahead. Now I request Dr. Mujib vote of thanks and conclude remark. Over to Pamboli sir.
Thank you, Nitin sir. So at the outset, this was a very nice session, Abhay sir. And in conclusion, I can say that basically you rightly elaborated how not to be a failed entrepreneur. So in your lecture, you defined what is basically entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, and how the analysis for an entrepreneur has to be done as far as SWOT analysis is concerned. So naturally, sometimes we fall prey to the ideas from various sources. So many people are there, they misguide basically, even for the students as well as to the ordinary people who are not into business. Because I saw many students, they are from the first generation fraternity, and when they directly join engineering, they have got some other ideas in their mind. So it's better to give them the right direction and right guidance at the right time. So it was a very good analysis done by you. And even you told us what you should do. That means what are the don'ts and what are the do's for being an entrepreneur. So before being an entrepreneur, you should think, if you fail, so what could be the reasons? So that we studied, sir. And definitely our students will be highly motivated, and they will take note of all your points and even add some points from their side, sir. So thank you very much, Abhay sir, for enlightening us. And even through your busy schedule also, I have seen your resume. So the organizations you work for, they are basically Tata R&D, Tech Mahindra, and Onward Technologies. And your experience is around 35 years. So our age of students, you can say even their age is also not 35 years. So they are 22 years of age. And your experience is more around almost 1.5 times their age. So you are also expert in product development, technical marketing, and embedded solutions. So definitely it will help us. And we would like to have your association with our educational institute, that is Anjuman-I-Islam's Kalsekar Technical Campus. And would like to have you as a board member, like industry advisory board or board of studies member in future also, when we become autonomous. And sometimes we may call you for you as a visiting faculty also. So you have performed variety of roles, and those will be definitely useful to our organization. And we have got one incubation center. So in that incubation center also, you can guide us and you can be the mentor for this, for our organization, like which is growing in incubation, technology business incubation. So I would like to thank on behalf of my director and staff of Kalsekar Technical Campus wholeheartedly, and hope in future you'd be associated with us. So Abhay sir, thank you very much. Hello, Abhay sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank you. We'll be happy to be associated and to share my.
Okay, I think you are breaking, sir. So anyway, I got your point. Hello. Hello. So it's okay. I got your point. So moving ahead, I would like to thank our IIC team, Institutions Innovation Council team, including Firoz sir. Hello, yes sir, yes sir. Go ahead, sir. Hello. Hello.
I said I'll be happy to be, and I hope that some people take motivation from what I have taught and succeed in their entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Surely, sir. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you, sir. So moving ahead, I would like to thank our IIC team, Institutions Innovation Council team, including Dr. Firoz sir, who is the coordinator of this Impact Lecture Series. Nitin Sonone sir, who compared throughout these 2 sessions and made it a success. Thank you, sir. And even my IIC team members, including those who assisted to be the part of this wonderful series of impact lectures sponsored by AICTE. I would like to thank all the participants, including our faculty members and students who right from the morning, from 10 o'clock till afternoon.
Thank you, sir, for giving us incredible knowledge.
Okay, thank you. So thank you all the student participants as well as faculty participants, and do join us for the next series on 9th of October. And again, I would like to motivate or encourage you to be the part of this wonderful business of entrepreneurship through our Kalsekar Incubation Center. So thank you, and once you fill up the feedback form, you may leave the meeting also. Okay. Abhay sir, hello. Abhay sir, hello.
Done, sir. Done.
Okay. Abhay sir, hello. Can you hear me, Abhay sir? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Abhay sir. Abhay sir, it's okay now.
Yeah.
We have signed off. Okay, sir. We have signed off.
Yeah.
So I will call up you later,
yeah.
sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I will call up you later. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.